good morning, afternoon, or evening, and welcome to the Bloody Disgusting Network. The passage of time will now bring you to something strange, unique, and idiosyncratic. Have a good time.
My friendship to all of you precludes my involvement with any one of you. But if you wanna make love, then I do too, and I'll be right there behind you. All in the name of oh, all in the name of oh, all in the name of oh.
Greetings, constant listeners, and welcome to another episode of The Losers Club, a Stephen King podcast presented by Bloody FM, the #1 horror podcast network in the world. I'm your host, Michael Regarding Rothman, sorting through all the magazines and newspapers here at Parkland Memorial Hospital, where today's events sadly take place. Well, at least most of them. No, there's a lot of drama on the docket today. Love, sex, violence, suspense. It's like one of those old Hitchcock pictures they've got up at the Capri sometimes, if you catch my drift. So consider me a little spellbound as we continue our journey through Stephen King's 11/22/63, especially since this part of the book is called 11/22/63. Fortunately for me, for you, for the entire universe, I've got my constants here with me at Parkland. And look, these are no strangers on the train. She's the Joan Fontaine to my Laurence Olivier. Jen, say hello and tell me if you're A, scared of hospitals, and B, what is your go-to Hitchcock?
Hey, this is Jen, love, sex, violence, suspense, Adams. And yes, I do not like hospitals. I have a phobia of scars and incisions. I don't like to be around them. I don't like to see them on my body, which is funny because my mom is a nurse. So I grew up going to hospitals all the time, just kind of hanging out, or picking her up or whatever. But yeah, I don't like them. There's germs and there's blood and somebody might cut me with something. So I don't know. But my go-to for Hitchcock, man, for a long time it was Rear Window, and I think Psycho is creeping in as the #1. So real basic bitch Hitchcock.
I tried to guess. I really tried to guess because I was gonna do Psycho, but I thought for a second you might like Rebecca more. But you know what?
I was like wrong. Rebecca. Yeah,
I was wrong.
Vertigo is a good one too. That was a favorite for a long time.
I guess you're more of into the Army Hammer Rebecca that came out a couple years ago.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Right.
I just love when he eats all those people.
Yeah, that's good. That was a good turn from the original too. Well, thanks for joining us. This is our fifth go around in these parts. Speaking of fifth go around, also our other constant, he's a man of history. Some might even say he's a man who knows too much, or maybe too little if he's Bill Murray. Flieger, give us your take on hospitals and pair it with some Hitch.
Good evening. This is Dan Dick Tiger Flieger.
Oh,
it was either that or Cockboy.
Oh,
but yeah, I'm pretty terrified of hospitals too. I don't really it's something. I'm a very clean person, but it's almost like it's overly clean, and I don't like the smell of cleaners. So it's just you're never there for a good reason.
Yeah.
And I guess I would say my favorite is actually the Alfred Hitchcock, The Art of Making Movies ride at Universal Studios, where you get to see a 3D version of the birds in a montage.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I like a lot of his films as well, but that's definitely my favorite because I have been called on stage to participate. So.
Oh.
Somewhere Alfred is either in heaven or hell, probably hell given his background. Yeah, and he's probably just sitting that guy just doesn't like my movies. He likes that shitty Universal thing. No, I'm just joking. Actually, it was pretty
quite
great.
A mess in here.
It was. I imagine Hitchcock would have just hated that thing, but I think it's probably creme de la creme of theme park installments for sure.
I think it's closed now. Sadly,
it's been closed. It's been turned into Shrek. It was turned into what was the next?
And Shrek just got replaced by Minions.
That's what it is. Oh, so I'm so glad that we've gone from Hitchcock to Minions, which is pretty much what I would say that Universal's done in a nutshell anyway.
And society,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's funny because Jake says everything's, the same as it was in the 50s, though it is now. And I'm like, well, you're forgetting a bunch of other things, but
we'll have to ask Justin his favorite Jimmy Fallon ride.
Yeah, well, we should because, this is his first time here in 1963. Justo, give us your thoughts on hospitals and tell us the Gerberlytics on Mr. Alf.
Hey, this is Justin Jamaica in Gerber, and I love hospitals. No, hospitals. It's like the one location or place in the world where it's the worst place in the world, but it has absolutely nothing to do with the people who work there. Like the people who work there are trying to make it as good for you as possible, but a lot of the times it's out of their hands, But I don't know. I hate the hospitals. What can I say?
Yeah.
I've got my expansive, I've got my Excel sheet for the greatest directors of all time. And I do have Mr. Hitchcock here.
As you should. Yeah.
Mr. Hitchcock on my all-time list is at number 16.
Wow.
But I think he's got the second most great movies and the second most solid movies. The issue for him is, I say issue like this is a serious issue that's going to affect his legacy, is that he's got so many good movies that it hurts his overall average compared to somebody who's only made 10 movies and most of those are like really good. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If you were to say like, hey, Paul Thomas Anderson, make 30 more movies, he'd probably be below Alfred Hitchcock, but he's gonna have a better batting average.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
there should be like, what do they call it? A handicap or something like that, where you say, well, he's had this run of good movies versus someone who hasn't swung enough in a way. I guess there's like, it's like the quality versus quantity argument, but usually the quality stands out for me.
Well, that's why like my mean, median, great, solid, that evens it out, because otherwise he would be like number 45.
Okay.
Yeah.
But because of the number of great and solid movies, he jumps all the way up to the top 20. The people I've got ahead of him, I feel comfortable with the people I've got ahead of him. You know what I mean?
I have to say, I really thought we were going to be talking about Alf. Like, alien that
for a second
cats.
I did too, until I looked up the notes. And went,
it's like, what? Mr. Alf. And I was like, oh, yeah. Because, I mean, we do talk about Alf occasionally. So.
We do. And honestly, you could make the argument that Jake is kind of like Alf in the 60s, wandering around. He keeps, comparing himself to aliens and stuff. So
that's true.
And no, all joking aside, don't they constantly reference like cat burgers?
Yeah. Oh my God. This is...
And Alf loves to eat cats. So, this does make sense.
I honestly would prefer a ending where he actually turns out to be Alf versus what we get. But no, I'm just joking.
Maybe that was the original ending, and Owen was like, "No, sorry, not Owen, Joe."
Hey, Sadie, you're a real catch.
Man, I just watched the Alf talk show, and Ed McMahon is on.
That's right.
Have you seen anyone seen that? But there's like a female fan that's like, I have a tattoo of Alf, and she like pulls her waist down to show the tattoo, and Ed starts touching it, and Alf as the host is like, Ed, you don't get to touch her. It's like very serious. It's so funny.
Wow. Well, that just bumped Alf up on my list.
No means no, Ed.
Hey, Ed.
But just, oh my God, it would be cool to see Alf just pop up here at the end and save the day, but unfortunately that's not the case.
What if Alf was the yellow card man? Alf
that'd be
with
great.
his dirty jacket and coat and hat and fedora with his gross green card or whatever.
Well, like
or
earlier
the universe is like run by Alf now,
or multiple Alfs.
Everything he does, yeah, exactly.
Like, but instead of
no, Jake comes through and he goes, "Hey, Jim Law,"
or he instead of different cards, it's like the Burger King dolls that they had for Alf were like, oh, in this world he's Surfer Alf, or in this other one he's Rock and Roll Alf.
No, this would have been good though, because it could have ended when Jake doesn't. I'm not going to blow the name of this book, but the last scene we see is once again of the army surrounding Alf, the Project Alf. Once again, it's actually, this whole thing was just a prequel to Project Alf on ABC.
Sadie's kind of like the the Karen Allen role from Starman. They have like the stare down. Anyway, I got to stop us because we'll go on Alf forever. But, I did say earlier that we've got some places to go. And indeed we do. So why don't we get in that cute VW bug I've been eyeing and head downtown towards the Book Depository.
I think the Book Depository would be a good bet. I think the book depository would be a good bet. Book depository. Damn, he could be anywhere.
Like last week, we're no longer in Derry, so we don't have the wherewithal or even the time to get to the Derry Public Library. But fortunately, the book depository's got some good notes in here, and it's a little dusty, it's a little empty. There seems to be a corner that someone has been standing or at least hanging out in. But what I know that we also have here is just a pen and a paper, and that is all Jen needs, our recap ruler, to catch us up on what's been going on in 11/22/63, specifically in the section 11/22/63. So, Jen, why don't you catch us up and set the scene?
All right. It is a little 11/22 inception here. Okay. Sadie's recovery after Johnny attacks her is slow and painful. Her mother comes to visit her in the hospital with Johnny's parents and essentially blames her for everything that happened. Sadie doesn't want to go back to teaching and is about to move back in with her awful mother, but Jake convinces her to let him take care of her. Jake moves in with Deke, but spends most of his time at Sadie's house. Scandal. Reconstructive surgery is going to be expensive, and Jake plans another jamboree to raise money. Sadie is really uncomfortable with the idea for understandable reasons, but Ellen Doherty convinces her to go to the jamboree. She shows up, gets a standing ovation of support from the town, and begins to heal. And I cry again. Jake eventually tells Sadie the truth, including his real name. They begin to talk about her going back with him for more advanced plastic surgery and just to live it up in the future. Jake decides to prove that he's from the future by predicting the winner of a boxing match. Unfortunately, he also places a risky bet on this match with another fratty from the block, if you will. Jake does win the bet, but some goons connected with his gambling escapades beat the shit out of him. He spends the next few months in the hospital recovering from a brain injury that's made him forget who he is and what he's come to do. Thankfully, he remembers just in time for 11/22/63. A few days before, Jake starts lying to Sadie again, hoping to protect her. But Sadie's no fool and meets Jake on the big day, intent on helping him with the mission. They make their way to Dallas, battling bus wrecks, Studebaker maniacs, jump rope girls, and catcallers. They finally get to the book depository moments before JFK is supposed to die. Jake startles Lee as he is about to take the shot. He misses and is shot to death by the Secret Service or some such men with guns outside. But Sadie gets shot in the fray and dies in Jake's arms.
All right. Well, now that we're all cut up.
I know.
Thank you, Jen.
All right, we're bringing it down a little bit.
Yeah,
hold on,
yeah.
I'll talk about Alf for a couple more minutes.
We should.
Lighten the mood.
It's like, oh, my love is dead.
Well, Alf lasted for 5 seasons, and
which is longer than Sadie's Jake's love.
That's true, actually.
Seasons of love.
Yeah.
Somebody say catcalling.
I almost made an Alf joke there.
Well,
I can't do the voice.
man.
I can't do it.
keep the TV jokes coming because that's going to be certainly a topic in our next section. Heroes and villains.
I'm gonna have to kill this fucking clown. Welcome to the Losers Club, asshole!
So, who here loves TV? Can I get a count of hands? You like everyone likes
Mike,
TV here?
I love TV.
You love TV? Oh
love
my
it.
god.
More than hospitals.
Oh.
TV could be McDonald's because I'm loving it.
Oh man.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
Hey, TV.
hey, it's my favorite place. It's where I live. The small screen. So we all love TV, but who here loves soaps?
Oh, Mike, I don't like soap operas.
Nope.
I don't
Didn't
like
think so.
soap operas.
I don't think I've ever even watched one other than like Mexican channel, like
Yeah.
Univision ones.
Well,
I had a season of Days of Our Lives, and that's it.
try
But
being.
you're 1/60th of the way there.
I know.
I mean, you all laugh, but if you're stuck in a hospital, you got nothing to watch but soaps.
Yeah.
And I know this because I've had to do that before, and I lost my mind because during the day, especially in like the 90s, there was nothing on TV. Now you can watch reruns of like Breaking Bad and shit like that, but then it was just like, oh, let's see what's going on in General Hospital. So given that two of our favorite faces in 11/22/63 find themselves under the linoleum lights of Parkland Memorial Hospital, and that you might say it's all very episodic, I did something a little cheeky, maybe a little sneaky, and I spun each chapter into a TV soap opera.
Ooh.
First up, we're going to click over to The Bold and the Beautiful. So this is all about Sadie's recovery and seeing how Sadie is the belle of the ball here. Let's start with her. I think we pretty much learned that, in the last section, that her mother is just a fucking nightmare.
Crocodile.
It's just the worst. But yet Sadie here, upon the accident and getting better, she wants to move back home. And so I guess we'd, start out with sort of her emotional state.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think it's so hard for her to accept Jake's help in this section? And why do you feel she's so uncomfortable with the jamboree? Jen.
Well, I think there are a couple of different factors here. I think one, she is, understandably feels a lot of shame because of what happened, because it was, and I do not think that she should feel it, and she did not cause anything, but her mindset, I can understand. Like, I chose this man. I knew he, I should have known, I should have listened. Even though she didn't cause anything, she is to blame. And I have a quote for later that I think talks about, like, if a woman is not able to gentle a man, then it's her fault. So I think she feels shame in a way that Bobby Jill didn't, because Bobby Jill was just in a car accident, and it was still an awful thing. But, that I feel like is less, people don't judge you for it the way that they do for domestic violence. And also, she's coming from a marriage with somebody who has, like, really, really toxic OCD and is very like cringy about, like, having any kind of, like, germs. And she, like, he talks about not wanting to stick himself into her woman hole. So she already kind of is coming from a world where she was constantly being told she's gross, even on her best day when she's taking care of herself. And so, like, when you're recovering from this shit, you can't always control your bodily functions. You have to have people help you. Like, I was flashing back to when a couple of good visits to the hospital when I had my kids, like, your body is just kind of broken down, and the person that's with you sees so much stuff that you don't want them to see, and you just kind of have to trust them to still love you even though they're taking care of your grossness, and so I think that's part of it too, is that she would feel that, like, all of us, I think, would feel like, I don't want anybody to see me at that state, but especially coming from Johnny Clayton, where he was constantly telling her how gross she was.
Yeah. Justin.
I think part of it is also just pride, right?
Yeah.
Some of it is you don't want to. You're more likely to want to give out charity than to receive it a lot of the time. At least a lot of people are like that. I want to top off something that Jim was talking about with the times and the shame that she doesn't deserve to feel, and it's when Jake seems perplexed at how Sadie could be held responsible by the school board and the community, and then Deke says, quote, "Grow up, George. Sometimes you act like you were born in a barn or some country where folks actually think straight." To them, it's about sex. To folks like Fred and Jessica, it's always about sex. They probably think Alfalfa and Spanky and the little rascals spend their spare time diddling Darla out behind the barn while Buckwheat cheers them on. And when something like this happens, it's the woman's fault. They wouldn't come right out and say so, but in their hearts, they believe men are beasts, and women who can't gentle them, well, be it on their own heads, son, be it on their own heads. End quote.
Yeah.
And I think that's the permeating attitude of the time that is no doubt affecting Sadie at this point.
Well, and if she grew up in a house where her mom was telling her that too,
right?
Then it's honestly astonishing to me that she is able to break out of all of that.
I agree. Yeah. I wanted to ask about that because I think this is something that's going to stay with you forever. I feel like, I mean, I don't want to.
On your face.
True. And
it's
especially,
reminder,
there is a part of the vanity, I think, that has this, but the emotionalism of it all, it does feel like, okay, this is a big, big, big thing to tackle in the third section of of the book. Do we think that we get enough of it for her to come through? I mean, is it, or does it feel a little, we kind of abbreviated in some sorts?
Well, can I just add to that, like, up to this point too, Jake kind of abandoned Sadie without explaining a lot. So why would she immediately trust him? I mean, he did come to her rescue, but he still hasn't been answering her questions. You know what I mean? He kind of upended her life. He kind of would just kind of give little phone calls here and there. So it's not like she's going to immediately turn to him. And I mean, it's just like, you're familiar with your mom, it's your parents. She maybe doesn't realize how toxic it is, but I can totally understand why she wouldn't. I mean, on top of the things I've been mentioned, like the shame and whatnot.
Yeah. We see Jake's intention, but she doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, she really doesn't know much about him. He still hasn't really opened up with her, right?
Does she even know his name yet? I don't think she does when this happens.
No, she knows Jake. I think. Does she? Okay. I think she knows at least his original name. But the issue is that there hasn't been a lot of opening up yet. And I agree, Dan. I mean, I think there's a lot of. I guess I wanted to throw that out. Is it plot armor that she keeps becoming, close to Jake, or do we actually feel like, no, Jake comes through here? Because, let's just start talking about Jake too, because I would say this is easily the most challenging situation he's had yet, even over Frank Dunning, even over, fighting a nightmare ex-husband who's, basically holding the love of his life, up with the knife. I think that there's a lot that he's gone through, but this one, and this kind of goes back to the question I had earlier, is just like dealing with someone that's in that mindset of just coming through the trauma and the terror that they just experienced. This isn't like let me just have a talk and figure this out. Like, no, this is going to be like, there's a lot of runway to get through before you get to some sort of finality. So do we feel that Jake, comes through and we buy that Sadie is able to come through on the other end? Do we think we get enough runway here? Jen, what do you think?
I do. I think I don't know if I would want to stay with Sadie in such a low point for so long because I like her so much. I think we do get, that scene with her mother, and we do get her, there's a scene where she's in the bathroom and Jake's trying to help her and she's crying and she doesn't want his help. So I do think we get to see enough of her recovery, but it does, I see what you're saying. It does kind of feel like at a certain point she's healed and she's better and we've moved on, which is not really reality. But I also think for plot reasons, like we do need to get to the point. But I think we see a lot of Jake's recovery, and I think I would prefer to see more of Sadie's recovery than Jake's recovery later in this section.
Yeah. What about...
It's terrible. I'm reminded of that Justin joke where it's like, what are you crying for? I'm the one who has to get a new girlfriend.
Oh, God.
He's so terrible. No, I love Sadie. I'm sorry. Sorry, I had to say that.
I do love the idea that, I don't know if it is an idea, but do you think vanity has a lot to do with this?
Yeah.
Yes.
How can it? She's a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
I mean, she has been her whole life. It's a time period too where, people would be much more self-aware of those things, and they wouldn't be as... I don't want to say woke's not the right word, but now we're aware of people that look different or behave different or just born different, and there's an emphasis even from a early age to be more inclusive. This is I mean, women are already second-class citizens. You could argue, continues to this day, but just imagine this time period, right? Now you're a woman that's scarred, and it's almost like, well, you're divorced, right? What did you expect? Why did you divorce your husband? It's just there's so much already going on, and she does feel so lost. Her ex-husband tried to kill her. Her parents are awful, and the guy that she was dating basically abandoned her. I mean, where's she gonna go?
Yeah. It's a tough stitch. Jen.
Well, and I think vanity does have to do with it, but I think that's only part of it. It's her face, and I remember back when I was watching Top Chef and Padma Lakshmi has a scar on her arm, and people were talking about oh, she's showing her scar. It's great, She can wear long sleeves if she doesn't want to show her scar. Sadie does not have that option. And everyone in town knows how she got that scar. And, I have a scar on my face from a bad husband, and it's faded a lot. But the thing is, every time you look in the mirror, you see it and you think about it, and you can't hide from it. And I think that a piece of it is vanity because her face is mangled. To talk about her, her mouth, and not being able to blink in the same way. And so it's not just there's an artful scar that adds character. It's this has really kind of destroyed something that, and coming from this relationship where Johnny was always telling her how bad she was, at least she had her beauty, her outward beauty. And I just think it definitely is vanity too, but I think it goes a lot deeper than that for her and for this situation, For Bobby Jill, maybe more like vanity,
True. Well,
but also I think the past kind of with harmonizing, right? It's you saw what she had to go through. Sadie saw what that girl had to go through, and now it's her turn, and I think she saw how difficult that was, and hers is even a worse condition.
Yeah, I imagine, and this is just me playing armchair psychiatrist as usual, but I imagine it's a playing card too. Especially in that time, to be like, all right, I've had this really shitty past, but I got this.
Yeah. Want to know how I got the scars?
Want to know how I got?
Oh God,
Heath Ledger, the Joker. Who's your favorite Joker, Dan?
I mean, Heath Ledger in person, but Mark Hamill.
Okay.
Overall,
okay. Nice.
Getting the hard questions out here.
Yeah, Justo, yours, Jackie.
I mean, it's Barry Keoghan. Can't wait for more Joker on the big screen. Finally, the Joker's going to be on our big screen in 2024. Yeah. No, I mean, my first was Cesar Romero and Jack Nicholson, but it's Heath Ledger, I think.
Yeah.
It's Heath Ledger. It's still the most electrifying performance.
Well, Jen, you could be a Joker yourself. You've got the Jen and Justin also. They also Jenker. Yeah. Who's your favorite Joker?
Oh man, I think Jack Nicholson. I just hear him say ha 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 ha. He's the first one I saw. He originated the role for me, and Heath Ledger is fantastic. Maybe the best Joker, but my favorite is Jack Nicholson. Also, his whole persona just outside of the Jokerness kind of embodies Joker vibes. Right. So he brings a certain Joker energy to the role.
Well, I think my favorite Joker is Bob Dylan, who was the Joker Man. Especially during this time, he would have that song.
Can I say really quick?
Yeah.
So Sadie, what's his name? What's Clayton's first name?
Johnny Clayton.
Johnny Clayton. So in the miniseries, which we'll talk about after, but the guy who plays him is T.R. Knight.
Yeah.
And he actually channels Roman Polanski from Chinatown. The character, when he's like, "Hey, what's up?" Because he's like, "Oh, there, cock boy."
Yeah.
It's just like, "Hey, pussycat."
And
that kind of thing.
Is he deliberately doing that? Do you know? Or
it's just he's got like kind of the fedora. It's the similar time period, but it's like this very sort of weird, I don't know, like a staccato delivery. But so it's having watched the miniseries as I was reading the books, it's just hard to separate some of the character actors for the minor roles. But that guy definitely jumps out.
He obviously uses a knife on somebody, much like in Chinatown.
Yeah,
and on Grey's Anatomy, which is set in a hospital.
Is that what he's from? Grey's Anatomy?
He's from Grey's Anatomy, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, remember the famous
George.
Isaiah Washington thing?
Oh, that was fun. You should definitely look that up.
Yeah, he was.
That'll be part 6 of this series. We'll talk about that in the final section.
You should definitely check out some more facts about Chinatown and Roman Polanski.
Sorry, just on the topic of Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson and Roman Polanski. Go Google that.
Yeah. What if 1122 the series actually had a de-aged Jack though, playing Jake the entire time?
It's just Henry Thomas.
Yeah, it's just the Henry Thomas thing. All right,
back for Dick Tiger in the 5th.
It's just but because it's older Jack, it's like this CGI character just keeps kind of stumbling around like Dallas.
Read all the lines from the hot tub from about Schmidt.
Oh Lord, yeah. And then you get Kathy Bates.
Annie Wilkes.
Yeah.
How about that?
I never thought about that.
Yeah,
Two
Jack
of the most
and Annie.
famous King villains in the same scene in the hot tub together.
Same hot tub, yeah.
If only we could have gotten what is it? Could have gotten Cujo.
What if he was like, "May I join?" It's Max von Sydow.
And Cujo's with him.
Just hot enough.
Just
didn't bring a towel.
All right, let's talk. Let's wrap up, Sadie. The Jodie Jamboree too. Does this feel like a retread? I know it's the harmonizing and everything, but when they're setting it up again, weren't you kind of like, didn't we just do this?
Well, I think it's everything kind of repeats in this, right? Not just the scar, but even them dancing together, right? There's the first time they dance and they keep dancing, and then it's like how we dance together. So I think it does. It's one of the final hits of the harmonization, I guess. And also, it's not going to be as special as the first time, right? But it's everyone's going back and like, oh, let's get the gang back together.
Yeah, I think this section is the most procedural of all the sections, and we spent so much time with these characters. I do feel like at this point, if we've been talking about this throughout the episodes, which I've been listening to, where you're kind of like, at a certain point, we got to get to Dallas. We got to get to the book depository. And I think at this point, even King might be realizing, okay, we need to let the audience know that to a certain extent, Sadie is not 100% feeling great about life, but she is feeling better, and she's feeling a little more comfortable.
Yeah.
And I think that this was a way to establish that with
the harmony.
She's helping out with charity. Now she's receiving it. She's accepting that charity. And to stand up on the stage in front of all those people, I think that she was able to regain a sense of power about the situation and herself. And now we can continue the story. You know, I think that's it earns it in that regard. If it was if it was as lengthy as the rehearsals and the play are for the first Jamboree, it would be a little more tiresome. But it's much more forgivable to have it just, we did it, it was a hit, and look who was on stage with me, you know? So
yeah. I agree.
And there's the focus that is more on, say, like behind the scenes than it was before. Like we don't get the reenactment of everything that happens.
Yes.
And I do think that I love the moment when Sadie comes out on stage. It's one of my favorite moments in the book. And I think for a woman in the 60s, 63, to do that in front of an entire audience and to just kind of say, hey, this is my face, this is what happened to me, and fuck you if you don't like it, you know, I think is really impressive. And I think it shows us a lot about her character, which I do think is worth it, even though there are a couple of moments where I'm like, yeah, we know about the pies. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, no, falling over laughing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The horse that broke explosive wind.
Oh.
So with Jake, though, you know, he's picking up Sadie's hospital bills. You know, he's gotten ingratiated into the town. I mean, at this point, we've been asking this for the last 2 episodes, but, you know, doesn't this feel like, you know, maybe you don't do the plan, you know, maybe there's enough here to say, all right, let's stick around. You've got a good thing going here. Or do we think that this is now Jake being like, I have to protect Sadie, so I am 100% going to bring her back with me? Is it like we got a little bit of a Doc Brown Back to the Future 3 situation here. What do you make of Jake in this section specifically with the recovery and everything? Where do you think his mindset is still with this? Do you think he's half in, half out, or do you think he's leaning more towards, I'm going to stick around with Sadie? Justin?
I think more than ever, he's leaning more into, I'm going to kill Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah.
I feel like he's colder than ever in this section, as a matter of fact. I feel like earlier in the book, he's much more hesitant. There's even that part, maybe it's in this part, I can't remember, it's all blurring together, where it is this part where he kind of pulls that gun on de Mohrenschildt, and he talks about how easy it is to kill a man, and once you've done it, or how much more comfortable you are about it. And I think that he is still full on invested in dealing with him. It's like you said, like, did he spend enough time with Sadie? He was still going off and doing all the investigations about Oswald and de Mohrenschildt. So I think that he is at this point adjusted over the last 5 years that this is what he is going to do, almost in the face of what time is trying to do to him. Like, fuck you. You gave me diarrhea. You know, you almost killed me. Fuck you. I'm definitely going to do this now. That's where I come up with it.
Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I wanted to throw this in, and you might be able to build on this, Flieger, because this is kind of this has been a running theme for us. But he has a lot of moments, and maybe this is King just kind of weighing in on where he's taking his own the story himself. But you know, on page 591, he ruminates on just the outcome of all of this. You know, like, is this even is the juice worth the squeeze here? So like on page 591, Jake goes, she might not even blame me. That was the most rotten possibility of all. But no, I could think of a worse one. Suppose I got back to 2011 and discovered that Kennedy had been assassinated on November 22nd after all. I still wasn't positive Oswald was on his own. Who is I to say that 10,000 conspiracy theorists were wrong, especially baked on the few scraps of information all my haunting and stalking had gleaned? Maybe I'd check Wikipedia and discover the shooter had been on the grassy knoll after all, or on the roof of the combined jail and county courthouse on Houston Street, armed with a sharpshooter's rifle instead of a mail-order Mannlicher Carcano. Sorry, NRA, I don't really know how to pronounce that one.
Wait, he wrote all that in the book?
Yeah, he wrote. Yeah, he wrote all this in there. Or hiding in a sewer on Elm Street, Freddie, and watching for Kennedy's approach with the periscope, as some of the wilder conspiracies claim. And then later on,
part too. Yeah,
on 612, he's like, on the other hand, I found myself wondering with greater and greater frequency if I had ever intended to strike Lee Harvey Oswald from the history's equation in the first place. I couldn't believe I lacked the guts to do it. I had already killed one bad man and in cold blood, but it was an undeniable fact that I'd had Oswald in my sights and let him go. I told myself it was an uncertainty principle and not the fact of his family, but I kept seeing Marina smiling and holding her hands out in front of her belly. And he kind of keeps these thoughts in his head, like he's like the angel and demon over and over again. But I think that passage of just, and there is another one, I can't remember where it is, but he tells,
I got it.
You got it? Yeah, read that
It's really
one.
brief. I'll read it
Okay.
real quick. Yeah, Sadie's asking whether or not he could just simply approach Oswald and scare him off. And he says, quote, "A truly nightmarish image came into my mind. I saw Lee telling the cops, the idea was put into my head by a man named George Amberson. If it hadn't been for him, I never would have thought of it."
Yeah. So if you're Jake, I think I'm not going through with this. I think I'm saying I've already emotionally invested so much into this that all these what ifs, #Creed, are very daunting. Like, why am I risking all this if I don't even know for certain that this could go down? To me, it just feels like there's just too many undeniable objections to why you need to stay, because it's like, if you can't even figure out with certainty that it is Oswald, then the what ifs right here outweigh everything to me. So I don't know. What do you all think?
I think going with the theme of like a man on a mission or a person on a mission, the hero's quest. I mean, look at like the Last Temptation of Christ or Daenerys Targaryen, House of the Undying. You could almost like lose track of the mission that you were on and fade into obscurity and kind of almost, Jake could just totally forget about saving the future. I think this is like the last temptation of Jake Epping is, do I, because he doesn't scout Oswald to go rescue Sadie. He's like allowing himself to be pulled away. And I think now it's like he has to decide, like, do I, this is the crossroads and he has to choose. So it's kind of, it adds to like the dramatic tension, I think. And it's the sacrifice that he's going to have to make. And I think even when he's offering, to bring her into the future, it's like he knows that deep down that's probably not going to work out. You can't just have a person appear in the future and, expect her to get acclimated or even be accepted legally,
It's harder for her than it was for him to go back in time, right?
Absolutely. Well, and I think this is the section where it really becomes real to him, because for so long he's been kind of living through Al's notes and living Al's plan and kind of has been able to, enjoy life in Jody, but really tell himself that he is kind of living outside of actual life and trying to protect Sadie. And I think now he realizes he can't protect Sadie. Like it caught her anyways, no matter how much he tried to, no matter how much he lied to her, and ruined their relationship. And so I think he's, it's becoming scarier. It's becoming more real. He's seeing like, this is what the actual effects are going to be. And it's not just me that is going to maybe sacrifice. But the part of me that doesn't care if he kills Oswald is like, come on, Jake, just stay.
I know.
Stop.
I guess it is fitting that, the hospital factors in twice in this section. And those are all about, recovering from the consequences in a way,
Yeah. And things that you can't take back.
Like this is getting real now. Yeah.
And if he hadn't helped Sadie, do you think she would have been, so dedicated to helping him recover as well?
Yeah.
If he had abandoned her, I don't know that she would have helped. I mean, she actually probably would have helped him, but I think that's what, even if they speed through her recovery, I think it's to give us Jake's, and it's the harmonization of the past.
One last question. Well, maybe two actually, but yeah, the first maybe three. Who knows? We might keep it lucky here.
63.
Hey, oh my God.
Let's actually do 63 questions. Number one, what is the meaning of life?
Number two,
Monty Python.
Monty Python. All right. So at one point, Sadie says that she can't love a vigilante. Do we think Jake is a vigilante?
No. He's an assassin.
Ooh, I like that.
I think he's a time cop.
Ooh.
John
Peter
Connor.
I
Van
think he's a Terminator. No.
I
I think
think-
he's a vigilante.
Michael Biehn.
Yeah. Oh man, there's no fate but what we make. Yeah, I wrote this because I was really fascinated by this, and if you've listened to all the episodes, I've got, I don't know, I'm kind of questioning Jake and his character here, and not in a bad way. And I just think I'm seeing more humanity in him, and I think he doesn't think he is a vigilante, but I do think that there is a piece of that in him, and I think it's one of those things where like he thinks he has hubris in hindsight, and I don't think he does have as much as he thinks he does,
Well,
it's almost like Minority Report though, because it's like a vigilante is in reaction to it, whereas this is a preventative measure. So I'm not even sure what the word. Do they just call them cops in Minority Report?
Time cops.
Time cops.
Time cops.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
There's the precogs and then the minority reporters.
Yeah,
I think that's what they were called.
They walk around going on Twitter all day, just being like, this guy that I'm about to kill is pretty problematic. But like all the reporters today. But anyway, gotta hammer that one home.
Saying that fucking time, like I'm gonna screw you, time. I'm gonna go get him because I got to. Is that vigilante energy? You know?
Yeah,
I think like let's go to layman's terms. You know, like Batman is a vigilante. Batman is going out on the streets, or in Death Wish, Charles Bronson is a vigilante. He's just going out searching for people doing bad things, whereas Jake is specifically looking for Frank Dunning, De Morenschelt, and Oswald, and that's it.
Well,
that's what makes him. That's what I think makes him an assassin, because it's a specific person in question that he's after. I'm
staring at a sticker that Jen got me, and it's Dirty Harry. Go ahead, make my day. It says on the sticker. And in the first episode, if you recall, I called Dirty Jake. We did the comparison.
That's right.
Yeah.
Is Jake more of a Dirty Harry then? A guy that just stands for the law?
He's kind of like a Billy Summers in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I saw a lot more similarities with this, having read Billy Summers since. Because there's a lot of, I mean, it even like reminds me of like The Killer, the new Fincher movie, because there's a lot of like meditative waiting around and planning and just gathering. You know, it could be very slow, but in that process, you have a lot of time to meditate on like, what am I going to do? Why am I doing this? And I think you see him question himself a lot.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Dan, I want to ask where he is on our gunslinger spectrum now.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, I think he's starting to cross over. I think. Yeah. Getting rid of Clayton, and it's hard because it's like Roland, abandoning the mission to kind of try to save Susan. But I think honestly, he probably has crossed over at this point, right? Yeah, he's not only killed already, but he's become a lot more comfortable. And I guess he doesn't kill Clayton per se, right? But he does like the heroic thing and rescues her. And I feel like he is like a man of principle. He stands by her as she recovers and helps her. When she can't stand up to her parents, he's like, you are not going with your mom. And I think you could see he's a lot more putting his foot down and trying to go the righteous path. But yeah, I always like, it's really funny to like think about like when he actually crosses over. It's like,
I think, by the time he's at the book depository, he's full on gunslinger, if you want to call it that. Yeah. There's no hesitation at that point. He's just firing away, And
even when he's anticipating all the things that are going to stop him, he's like, don't go there. Don't do the elevator. Yeah. He's like, he's on the lookout for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if only had an Eddie Dean with him,
I know.
It would have been worse. Eddie Dean got shot. We can spoil Dark Tower.
All right, yeah, you can. We're all done with the Dark Tower.
Got blown away. He got shot. Yeah, that's true. He was shot in the head in the book depository.
Well, maybe
what
Eddie would have.
Sadie just shows up with a bag of plates, and she's like, "Hold on, I got this."
That would have been. Come on. You know what's funny? I think if that was like on page like 750, I would have stopped reading. I would be like, "This now we're."
Yeah. You're like, no, too far.
237 here.
It's like
King's on the bus.
It's like Jake rounds the corner and spots. Wait, that's not Oswald. It was a man in a dark face, clouded with a red robe, screaming.
Well, I mean,
or like, I bumped into a man with a collar of a priest. He was drunk. Hi, my name's Father Callahan. Where are you going?
Oh, yeah.
But no, but I mean, there is like
good drinking spot.
With Oswald, there is a reference though that he's more demon than man.
Yeah. We'll get to that. We will get to that.
Yeah,
we'll get to that.
So one last question: the telling the truth to Sadie. Could have done a little better job, right?
Here's my argument. And I think about this. And obviously, for the sake of the story, you have to have her believe him at a certain point.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody in my life, anybody on this pod whom I've known for years. If anybody tried to tell me that they were from the future, I would absolutely not believe them. I would sooner believe that they were in some gambling racket and they were like setting up people to cheat in fights or in baseball games. I would never be like, you know what? You're from the future. Like my brain would never work that way.
What's more believable, that I am from the future and my mission is to kickstart a Stephen King renaissance, or ghosts are real?
Oh.
Which one is less believable?
Jen, you asked me that question. I feel like I'm becoming the yellow card man. I know. Worse. The next time you ask me, I'll have a green card and then a dark card. And
he's
breaking a bottle. Everyone, hold on.
I can't answer that question.
Yeah,
I guess ghosts.
Yeah,
no, that's not true. I wouldn't. I don't know.
I don't believe in ghosts, but I also think backward time travel might be theoretically impossible.
Yeah,
because from what I understand is you generally only travel forward in time, but you can't go back. But again, this is like very complicated stuff.
There's a third option, and it was mentioned in part 4. is when she asks first, "Are you an alien?" I would sooner believe that he was an alien than he time traveled.
Are you from this planet?
Yes.
That's a good call, Justin, because it does seem like he just, not just the slang he uses, but he does stand out. And I was saying it's almost like unfair, the power dynamic, because he does have such an advantage over everyone. So, of course, he's going to be very attractive. And I didn't like when she's asking him questions and she's like, "Are you from the future?" And he kind of just sits there in silence. I'm like, that's your chance, dude. Like, confirm it. And I know he like eventually does.
Silence is confirmation.
But also like with her, I think she has almost no choice but to believe, because like where else is she going to go? She again lost her husband, no parents to really go back to anymore. She's like all her eggs are
she's like,
the Jake
okay,
basket.
You're from the future.
Yeah, but he's like, we can get you the work done, and she's kind of like, okay,
all right, sounds good.
Can we get like lunch or something?
Yeah,
it's like
let's talk about this.
I'm hungry. Should Jake have brought back a tape of Back to the Future and just had him, just play it like this is from the future and it's about time traveler?
Right?
I know.
Well, what if he brought back a VCR? And here's the real question: if he had brought back a tape of Back to the Future and a VCR, could she possibly deny it? Is there any way not to believe?
I know. Well, it's like
it's such a good movie.
Like if you think about it, in Back to the Future, he has the camcorder with the footage from the future. So immediately, boom. If that happened, though, Justin, would you? If you're Doc Brown in that situation, are you gonna be like, "Get the fuck out of my house, kid"? Are you still gonna do that?
I'm trying to think of the technology in 2010. So, first of all, if you brought back a VCR or a DVD player, there would be absolutely no way to hook up the VCR or the DVD player into a television back in 1963.
It would depend on the RCA cables, but I'd have to look.
Well,
it
I
up.
got news for you. Those RCA cables were not syncing up with 1963 television sets.
Like blow it out.
Like those awful antennas on top.
Well, then how does Doc?
I think the way to do it would be find a building that's under construction during that time period and have a photo of it being completed. That's like the only thing I can really think.
Photoshop.
But there's no Photoshop.
There was technically shopping of photos back then, because like Stalin would do it. But
yeah,
I thought you were going to say find a building under construction and construct an RCA portal, show her Back to the Future, and then we got it.
You know what I would
back
do?
to 1984. Like I told you, Back to the Future is a movie.
Jake, Huey. What is going on? It's Huey Lewis. Like,
what kind of a name is Huey Lewis?
And then he just looks and is like, "Your
Jules
kids are going to love this."
I just keep going back to how Doc was able to plug in the camcorder into the TV in 1955. But
well,
anyway.
he probably
he's a scientist.
He's a
well, then we go to
scientist.
Then we go to a brilliant. They had Silent Mike in Dallas. Go to Silent Mike. He might know how to do it. Hey,
no, Silent Mike doesn't know how to
you
do
just click
the
wires together and it revs up the VCR.
It's true.
Yeah,
well, speaking of revving up, let's get. I've had enough of this drama. I'm looking. I'm looking for some trouble, and I think I'm going to find it because Dallas is on. All right, Dallas, big gambles for Jake. This is the section we're going to be talking about all of those fun, bets that he makes. At least just one of them. So in this section, don't you think Jake is a little reckless? I mean, I think, he's so big on like keeping these details. He notes all these harmonics or harmonies that are happening. I just think that the bet was fucking stupid idea on his part. Like, if you know all these things, you even have that hunch of seeing the Florida plate. Why are you doing this? And like, isn't there a better? I mean, we were just talking about how to prove the future, but there's got to be some of a better way. I mean, and is it just so that he could prove the future, or does he need the money? I mean, like I keep going back and forth on this, and I think ultimately what it leads to is that it just has to happen because it's the Chekhov's gun. We mentioned the mob behind him. The mob's got to come back somehow. Or, what do you make of this whole gambling section? Does it feel too tedious? Does it feel too plot armory? Or does it bring just the right stakes? Justin?
I think structurally, like you said it, Mike, I think it is a little plot armory because the events of him losing his memory have to happen. They have to happen for this part of the book. But I also think if you have been living somewhere in the past where you basically know everything that's going to happen in the world, that you're going to start to get sloppy after a while, thinking that you've got it all figured out. Unless it's something specific, like with Sadie and the timing with that, with her being attacked and everything. I think that you would feel in a way, though, ultimately untouchable because he's been getting away with gambling for years, and he kind of puts it out of his mind, the house burning down. I think he's just kind of like, that's got to be a coincidence. He's trying to convince himself of that because he knows his only real way to make any real money is to place these giant bets. So I think, I agree with you 100% that it was stupid of him to do it, but I understand where his mind was at the time.
I think if you look at the reason for these bets, in the past, they've all been in support of his mission, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's to get along. Now, Sadie is hurt and she has hospital bills.
Yep.
So he's having to detour to make money and also to prove to her that he's from the future. So it's not really on the path that he was supposed to be following. And you could almost say like Sadie getting injured and forcing him to need money could be the past trying to catch up with him, because that's what allows the gamblers to finally locate the guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jen.
and I'll say, first of all, I have no experience gambling. Like, when we were in Maine, that was the first time I'd ever been in a casino, So I don't know what gambling culture is like, but the thing that feels sloppy to me is this, like, insistence on, like, really high odds and a really obscure bet. Could he have done just like 2-1 and then maybe placed another 2-1 bet with somebody else or something like that? Like, that's what feels sloppy, because it feels like he's coming in looking for a payday and just trying to work with the guy to get whatever he can do to get the most money, and that feels shady, know.
What you do,
Yeah.
there's some not
say
say
it.
whatever illegally
Gambling tips
gamble.
from Justin.
But what he
Oh, no,
should have
Justin
done,
would
I think there's here. Have a seat, everybody. My black background, my cigar, my fedora. What he should have done with it was the World Series. I think he was so specific about they would come back from being 2 down. I think it was. I can't remember what the situation was. What you should do is, let's say he knew that the winning team was going to win 4-2. What you do is you place smaller bets at the same time, like, okay, they're going to lose 4-2, and they're going to lose 4-3, and then you put the big money on they're going to win 4-2. So while you're still going to lose some money, but you're still going to end up winning more money in the end. That's how you should have done it. You should have
looks
been
more
like,
natural.
oh, and in the bottom of the third, somebody's going to throw out second base. I mean, here's a $10,000. Like,
Right.
That's
You gotta hedge your bets a
red
little
flag.
bit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
red
and
flag.
just the outcome, you're saying too,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Don't be
Yeah.
it's too specific. I mean, obviously the odds are so huge for it to be that specific, but at the same time, I mean, you're planting red flags like crazy.
Yeah, and they do kind of reference that. They're like, we almost felt like you were losing on purpose. So the gamblers are kind of keen. You know,
Yeah.
they're still like a lot sharper than I guess they get credit for. But
Well, because they do. This is like a side of Jake's mission, but this is something that the bookies do for a living. So like they've probably seen people
House
like
always
Jake
wins.
come in. Yeah, and there is also like it's not that the only possible explanation is that he's from the future. It's like, oh, he knows where the fix is. Like that's
that was my thing.
really
about-
likely thing that could happen.
Well, that's what I've gone to, as opposed to you must be from the future. I would have just thought that again,
Exactly.
he's in some seedy organization that's fixing
Yeah.
stuff.
Or a ghost or an alien.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean,
What if the mob was like, get out of here, you alien freak, and just starts like,
where your antenna head?
and look at this, his blood's red. I thought it was going to be green.
Yeah, why the green face, alien?
Jen, you think a lot of it is hubris, though, right? That he's just
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there is a piece of him that doesn't actually think he's going to get hurt, and that he has the armor of Al's notebook, and that he knows what this outcome is. And I think he leans really hard on this hunch think that he's got. So I think he's told himself that even the stuff that I can't control, the hunch think's got it taken care of. And so I think that, it's a little bit of pride coming in, and just like and maybe even like, oh, I'm from the future. I'm just kind of visiting here with the locals, but I know better than them,
Yeah. Well, it's strange because he doesn't he gets hurt as we see, very hurt, so much in fact that I look back at some of those wounds and I keep wondering if myself would be able to sustain those. I think the shin or the kneecap one would really just send me over.
I mean, it depends on if you're in Scream 6,
That's true. Yeah, you could just get through
You
all
can
of
survive
it.
anything.
Yeah, that's true. Especially for the sequel, that will definitely for sure be coming out. But Jake is saved by the same woman that asked to step in when that asked him to step in when Lee was hurting Marina. Is this karma?
Yes. Yeah. And this is kind of my whole thing with Jake is like he did not step in for someone else because he's got a bigger mission, and he is now in a position of needing someone's help, and he can't and I just think it's interesting. Like, how would he feel if somebody was standing off to the side and was like, I can't, I've got to prevent 9/11. You know, I cannot help you in this moment. You know, it's like everybody, it's kind of the thing that King is saying is like, everybody is the star of their own story. And I think he's realizing that like, he's not the star of this story as much as he thought he was, you know, and that he's vulnerable to all of these things, you know?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Any other thoughts? No?
I'm going to probably have a lot more thoughts about that when we get to conclusions, just about Jake's overall arc, you know, and I feel like I'm being really hard on him. I think he's a fantastic character and I love him. I think he's just very human and he's a flawed character. And that's what makes him so interesting because we can see a lot of our own responses because we talked in the last episode about him not stepping in to save Marina. And like, that's an understandable thing. And I think here he's seeing the other side of that, you know?
Yeah. He, at least knows, maybe he doesn't know that he's going to get hurt, but he definitely knows that Vic Morrow is going to get hurt. He mentions that in a random section. Justin, you had some intriguing insights into this. Though.
I do. I've got it's a mini monologue, if I can interject here at the hour mark. I just started thinking more and more about the butterfly effect because I'll set it up. So in the book, this is when Jake is recovering, and he's still very emotional about things, and they're watching the show Combat.
Mm-hmm.
And Jake says, quote, "Turn off the TV. The guy who plays Sergeant Saunders, can't remember his name, is going to be decapitated by a helicopter blade. Please, Sadie, turn it off." And the actor that Jake is referring to, like you said, Mike, is Vic Morrow, who 20 years later died tragically along with 2 children while filming a sequence for the Twilight Zone movie. So keep this in mind during the following. So obviously, in addition to the many theories about what really happened with Kennedy over the last 60 years, there are also, you know, real educators, not people who just say PhD on Twitter and people listen to them, real educators who have some theories regarding JFK in addition to the assassination. And this is from an event that took place just last year, actually, on 11/22/2022. And it was at the London School of Economics and Political Science, hosted by Professor Mark Silverstone of the University of Virginia. And here is what it was about. On the day before his assassination, November 21st, 1963, in Fort Worth, Texas, President JFK, John F. Kennedy, gave a speech which highlighted the importance of the U.S. commitment to Vietnam, where there were then 16,000 U.S. military personnel supporting the South Vietnamese army in its struggle against the communist insurgency. Yet some historians have argued over the recent time, Kennedy and the Secretary of Defense, Robert S. McNamara, disillusioned with American prospects, were quietly making preparations for the gradual withdrawal of U.S. forces from Vietnam. However, after Kennedy's death, his successor, Lyndon B. Johnson, acted to escalate U.S. involvement in the war, leading some to speculate over what might have happened had Kennedy lived. This talk, based on Professor Silverstone's forthcoming book on the subject, uses new evidence from declassified U.S. archives and presidential tape recordings to examine the debates over the Kennedy withdrawal thesis and to tackle the issue of whether America's long war in Vietnam could have been avoided, end quote. And this made me think not only of the greater implications of JFK not being assassinated on that day, but the smaller ripple effects. And I don't know if King was even thinking about this, but does anybody know what sequence Vic Morrow was filming the night he and those children died on the Twilight Zone set? Jen, you said you shook your head.
It's the Vietnam sequence.
Yep.
Right. It's a sequence set in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And it is very likely that that scene never would have happened because the Vietnam conflict war would not have had such a big cultural touchstone like the other events in that story, like World War II, the Holocaust, the KKK of the 50s. That scene never would have been filmed. It would have been something else. And in this, for instance, if Jake does stop JFK, Vic Morrow and those children probably live.
That's a wonderful rabbit hole to go down.
I just thought about that. I don't know if King was even thinking about that specifically, or if it was just trying to tie in again TV of the time with something that he knows about the future.
Yeah,
but just that little, I just thought that stayed in my mind. I went in my own little rabbit hole.
Yeah. Well, kind of on that note, I did want to talk about Georgie D. De Mohrenschildt. We get one pretty big scene, and it's the scene between him and Jake in the car. This is one of the rare moments in this book where King actually does puncture the past. And I think the ripple effects of this would certainly be pretty astounding, if not deafening, given someone, basically scaring off Georgie D. I wonder if this was when King, after he finished the scene, he was like, I can't keep doing this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to keep messing around with the past. I don't know what that's going to do. I already have this big ending where he actually does get rid of Oswald. I think that's enough. So do we think that this scene in question, when he is actually talking to George, is King basically figuring out, all right, I have to find something else to avoid any more of these sort of interactions? And that's how he came up with the bookies, or to bring in the bookies and to do the sort of amnesia subplot, kind of in the same way that he had with the stand and the explosion in the Boulder Free Zone, which he said that has certainly allowed him to be like, okay, now I know where I can take the story again. I just had a theory on that when I was reading this, when it was just like, it is strange that like this is really like the last of Jake's sort of, staking out of what was happening in the prior section. And we talked in the last episode about how he said that section was really fucking hard to write, and how we could kind of see it, between the lines, just, every time he left Dallas, our spirits lifted as his did. And so I just wondered if that came across to any of you with this particular scene. It's like, it does feel like a weird end cap. And then all of a sudden we're going into more of the fictionalized aspects and things that are going to buy the time. So what do you?
I think, it does feel a little bit abrupt. Like, well, I'll just ask him, but I also think like I could see Jake getting to that point also. So it doesn't feel so like such like a literary cheat to me, because I believe that Jake would get to this point too, where he's like, I don't have time to fuck around with this history shit anymore either, So I can kind of like excuse it a little bit. And, and we're going to talk about him being in the hospital. That's the one that feels a little more plot armory to me. But also like this whole book, the reason we have so much action in Jody is because if we didn't have it, this would just be a stakeout. And it would just be like filmed Wikipedia,
Yeah.
So we got to have action. He has to confront him, like Oswald, on 11/22/63. Like he can't just like surprise him at home a week before,
I think if it wasn't for the incident with Sadie and her husband, this would have been resolved a while ago. And I think that now he is seeing what time is doing to him, the evil time, as we call it. And time is ticking. He needs to resolve this. And now he does have to literally interfere. He can't just listen in anymore. He has to wrap it up.
Yeah.
So I understand why he does this. It's obviously sloppy, because the other thing it's almost a contradiction is that, he posits earlier, what if he says something to Oswald?
Yeah.
He's actually the cause of this. So what if he brings something up to Demorenschild and he's actually the cause of this? I mean, but at the same time, it's kind of like, I can't wait around anymore. I have to know now, because I've got to kill Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah. I mean, go for it, Bigger. Sorry.
I was going to say, it's in kind of put a button on the TV show. He says this, I don't like mysteries. And here he is trying to solve a mystery. And I think it's just, he's getting so frustrated that by taking George out of the equation, it also narrows the focus that, okay, I'm narrowing it down to Lee. There's a lot of conspiracies of that guy's involvement, which I still think there's something going on. And they kind of offhand, they're like, I think he still might be a CIA handler, which I think is very relevant. But I think also the sake of getting injured is just, it has to accelerate the timeline, like Jen said. Otherwise, it's just going to be kind of a stakeout, a little more Billy Summers. Whereas they get to him like the moment he's about to take the shot. You know what I mean? It's through all but it creates that dramatic tension in the book that really races it along to the climax, right? It would be kind of just anticlimactic if it's just like he takes the shot months ahead and then goes back. But I do wonder if, like, in theory, then why not just kill Oswald almost immediately and then just return to the future and see if the Vietnam War happened? But I guess then we'd have no story. But
yeah,
Flieger, you've just blown my mind.
Yeah,
that is a very good point.
I try to be logical with my altering of timelines.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're right. Why didn't he just do that?
What, immediately that going in?
And then you
just
go back and
kill Harvey Oswald and see if Vietnam happened.
Yeah, and then he can go right back and he's alive again. Like, so no harm, no foul.
Reset it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll find out what the foul is. But
yeah, but he would have known immediately. You go back, you don't kill him, and you go back in. You're like, I guess that didn't work. So
yeah.
So what?
Then you get back and forth killing randos and seeing which one makes me rich.
I mean, at a certain point, the yellow card man's going to kill himself anyway, so you don't have to worry about that.
That's true.
Yeah.
It just made the George scene just really came to mind as I was going further into the section, especially in the amnesia subplot, which I want to talk about obviously next. Before we do though, Sadie, one thing I noticed, there's a lot of table setting through foreshadow in this section. So much so that I want to bring it up in a little bit, but specifically with Sadie here. So I love how, she's very sassy and feisty in this section, especially when she gets to the fight. There's like a real fire in her spirit. She's determined, she's confident, she's witty. But as someone who's all of those things,
Who?
I just there is a flip side to that spirit, that tends to make you stubborn sometimes, even reckless. And do you feel that this is the side that gets her in trouble in the end?
I don't know if it gets her in trouble, but it makes me love her more. She's like a Sadie with no more fucks to give.
Exactly.
Which I love. And, as anybody who's been through middle school knows, like, if you're not hot, you got to be funny and you got to be sassy,
True.
So
True. I hear that.
She's pulling in a little bit of that.
I was thinking about this, and it's almost another fuck you to time, where I feel like she was almost in her own way a victim of time trying to stop
Totally.
Jake by having her ex-husband mutilate her, essentially. And maybe time underestimated Sadie's strength and did not anticipate that she would now be like, okay, I'm going to help this man now.
Is Sadie the gunslinger?
Yeah. Jake doesn't make it to the depository without her.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
And I don't think that time figured that into it. So,
but she's destined to fail along the way. I just think she was doomed from the start, and time was going to find a way to get to her. But yeah, you're right. She persevered a lot more than she maybe could have in other timelines.
But the mission was accomplished. The mission was
if we're talking about Jake noticing time trying to stop him, Sadie actually observes, she's like, this is time trying to stop us. And she has that breakthrough moment where now she can see and perceive like her environment.
Right.
Looks like we're sneaking into the old debate that we had when we first read this book in 2011, and we're gonna have to say that for the next episode, because that's what I've been hinting at since the episode 1 is their old debate that we had, where it actually drew me into the Dark Tower. But at the end of this section, Jake is, for lack of a better word, on death's door. You might say that he's got one life to live. So in this section, we, which is dedicated. Great. I think that show's still on, isn't it?
I think that might be gone.
It's gone.
A lot of these soap operas started to go away with streaming and game shows and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, sad. I guess they just replaced them with just really high quality Netflix shows and stuff. So, we kind of glossed over in the first episode, mostly because we just said, "Oh, first person narrative." Blah. But I do think that this point of view is absolutely crucial to this section, especially, and I think it favors King big time. Justin, I know you had some thoughts on the point of view. Do you want to go into that?
I do, and I thought about, especially during this reread, in terms of the advantage of writing in first person versus third person, limited or omniscient. Whereas it's all about the story more than it is about the character. I'll try to break it down as best I can. So, first person gives the writer more of an opportunity to focus on the main drive of the story, obviously. But if we are getting 1122 from King's third person, like The Stand, It, Under the Dome, other longer books, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to expect more fleshing out of every character to play a part in Jake's story. But because we're getting this from non-novelist Jake's first-person perspective, Jake can only ever really know so much about anybody he's dealing with. So Jake is in love with Sadie. So her character, in many ways, is going to come off more or less, for lack of a better term, I know you use this on somebody else, but like a manic pixie dream girl in some ways. Because he is seeing her through like these loving eyes.
It's a good point. Yeah.
And Oswald and Dunning and Roth, well, obviously history shows us, at least King's history, that these people are awful. They're going to come off as almost, boilerplate
Monstrous
villains.
Yeah.
Irredeemable because of hindsight and personal disgust. And, you can't always get away with that in a third person narrative. And I think that's why the first person really aids King here, and it keeps the story moving along. And it does make some of the less fleshed out characters, it's more understandable because you get a get out of jail free card.
Yeah,
because you're just coming from a perspective of a non-storyteller.
We were mentioning Chinatown earlier, and that's like a film noir. And an element of film noir is it's a first person perspective, and you can only learn what they learn, and that's what adds to the solving of the mystery. There's no scenes in this book that take place without Jake, as I recall, right?
And there's no scene, speaking of Jake, there's no scene in Chinatown that takes place without Jake, Jack Nicholson's character.
Yeah, Jake, Mr. Geddes. Yeah. No, but that's it's so you can only learn what the character learns. Do you know what I mean? I guess there's a few moments of foreshadowing that King drops.
Oh, tons.
Narratively.
But that's because
just
Jake knows.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be the last time he sees her or something. Some of those things. But yeah, in general, you can only garner the information that the main character solving the mystery has. And this is ultimately him doing research before he does the kill, right? He wants to make sure he does it right.
Hold that thought. Seriously. I'm going to be bringing that up soon. But sometimes it doesn't work. There are some situations like, Dexter. Remember that show? Remember when it was like, he's the narrator, and then all of a sudden you're hanging out with the guy with the hat.
Yeah, it's very sloppy.
It's it's like, wait a second, I thought this was all from his point of view. What the hell's going on here?
Those first 4 seasons, which also Dexter played JFK in The Crown. So King's Dominion.
Wait, did he really?
He did. Yeah,
Oh.
He's pretty good. Yeah, he's a very sinister JFK.
I don't know if
Didn't Michael C. Hall narrate a Stephen King book? Audio
Yeah,
book?
Pet Sematary.
Pet
There you go.
Sematary.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh my God, my son had come back.
My son's alive.
Spot on, guys. Well done.
Yeah. So is pain? This is a great section in the sense that we do have so many internal thoughts. I actually think that King pulls this off really well. I just really love I guess I'm just a sucker for amnesia subplots. I just think it's always fun. Anyone ever remember the movie Clean Slate?
No, I forgot it.
Ironically enough.
Yeah.
No, but what's interesting though is because he could be considered crazy, and who knows, in his ramblings he's gotta save President blah, and it's he could actually forget that he's from the future and just wake up and live in the past, right? And in a way that would be time winning, because it's all right, he's abandoned his mission. And if there was a chance that he could have completely lost himself, and they would have had to re-educate him and be like, no, you're from this time period. What are you talking about from the future? So I think that's a fun aspect of this could have went either direction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think the thing I like the most out of this is that it is a smart way to pass the time.
Pun intended.
It does allow for some character growth, specifically with Sadie. This whole section is basically the breakup in Back to the Future 3.
I love the fact that specifically Back to the Future 3 has been name checked on every episode.
It's every episode.
One,
I'm glad you picked up. I'm doing it on purpose, but it is because I keep
joke. I'm actually reading Flea's autobiography right now, who was in Back to the Future Part 3. So
does he mention it? Does he mention
I haven't got there yet, but it's really well written. Side note.
But the way that Sadie is able to kind of figure this stuff out on her own is very similar to me, as when Clara starts putting the things together and go races after Doc. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to ask you, does this whole recovery thing, does it kind of feel like a plot device just to kill time, or does it feel like a contrivance to keep Jake from killing Oswald before the big day? How do you feel about this section? Because I could see some folks, again, I have to play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
I'm just a simple man. I but
oh God, don't.
No, I'm not going to do that.
Finish that.
I know.
Next quote.
Lollipops and butt in my ass. But I'm going to finish it. But yeah, I could see some people being like, all right, come on. Is for you, Flieger, especially. Is this too much of a delay to the fireworks?
No. I think it's good because it accelerates the stakes, right?
Yeah.
Like we were saying, it's not a scoping him out for. It's dun, 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 dun. It really gets that clock ticking, right? And it becomes literally a race against time. So I think it's just for the dramatic, the narrative of building to the climax. I think it's good.
I think because we're in the universe of a guy going to a diner and stepping back in time, I'm much more forgivable about these instances of. Like you said, it is ultimately a plot contrivance or convenience. But I believe with everything that we've seen so far with time, it would make sense that these events would be put into place. We can't physically stop you, but now we're going to mentally stop you from literally forgetting why you're here to begin with. And that made sense to me. Funny enough, though, I'm not kidding. I remembered in this reread, every major event, I totally forgot he gets amnesia.
Oh, really?
Really?
Completely forgot he gets amnesia. Yeah, I just totally forgot about it. Funny enough, I forgot about it. But I enjoyed this section of the book, though.
I did too.
Yeah, it works for me. It's frustrating because we know he's going to get there, but it's how is he going to get it back? And I thought that it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah. It's almost a way like Jake, or not Jake, well, I guess technically Jake, but King writing his own true crime novel in a way again, because he kind of has to, needle out the details, figure out how he's going to get to the details. Like, I love the way he uses the billboard to get to the owl's nest. Like, it's just so fun. That moment in these type of movies is always like one of my favorites. But
I also love the fact that he does start to remember certain names, but it's 1963. You can't Google it.
No.
It's like, what's the name Oswald really going to do for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was really clever too.
Nate Bargatze has a really funny joke about he's not smart enough that if he went back in time, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, you're from the future. Who's the next president?" He'd be like,
Yeah.
He's like, I'd probably just go back in time and become like a waiter,
Right.
Like Jimmy Carter.
He's like, shoot.
Yeah.
Nashville boy, Nate Bargatze.
Yeah, I love him.
The recovery is pretty real. And I wanted to ask,
yes,
do you think King's pulling from his own accident when it comes to Jake's point of view?
1,000%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can feel the pain. Like when he's talking about the rehab or the physical therapy,
There's literally a line where he says, "I put the crutch under my right arm. People who have been lucky with their bones think you'd use a single crutch on the injured side, but that's not the case." I mean, like, he's been through that.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. I will say this is, to be the devil's advocate, like, this is my least favorite section of the book. I do not like this section. It feels, I understand. I think this is maybe the best way King could have written this section, and I probably would have done the same thing. But I'm not a huge fan of amnesia storylines other than 51st Dates, which is great.
Love it.
But
unimpeachable.
It's so good. Yeah. There's nothing problematic in there at all.
What about the horrifying ending when she wakes up to see paintings in a dark room of her face?
It's awesome.
Don't think about
it. That's what Jake should have done. After his recording of Back to the Future, he should have recorded a video of himself saying, "Hey, if you wake up and you don't know where you are, kill Oswald."
If you wake up.
Someone needs a doctor.
I mean, it is like a... Oh, sorry. I was going to say, this could just be like a montage. You know what I mean? It kind of just... It is, in a way, like this drug-fueled in and out.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could really
and I
get
think
through
it's
this
written
a lot
very
quicker.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it does suck to watch someone... I mean... It's to convey the point that he has to go through the physical therapy, and obviously King's pulling on his own experience. But yeah, it's difficult to read, especially when you're hearing the injuries, and he's like talking about his bones getting stretched out. And
And that's the thing, like, that's the part that I do like, and I don't enjoy it because it's hard to read. But
it sounds like you enjoy it a little bit.
Yeah. I do. My mom was a nurse, so I like to cause pain.
Annie Wilkes over here.
But, exactly. But it's the waiting for him to catch up with something that we already know that just drives me nuts in this section. But it's short, so
it does feel very. I just keep using the fireworks example. It's certainly that. Like, because you think about it, it's like not only get like one recovery with Sadie, then we get this one too. So it's the harmonizing effect as well. Where like, oh, we're doing this again. Like we're doing the jamboree again. Like, so yeah, I ask these questions again for the devil's advocate perspective at all, because I think they're, one of the only complaints I ever see about this book when I hear it being discussed or even see it being discussed online is that some of the stuff with Oswald's tedious, or, it takes a little long to get to the assassination. And I'm probably going to talk more about this when we get to the series, because I think the series actually does sort of simplify and bridge things a little bit in a way that you have to do on television. But I just think about how much King does lean on to the harmonics here. It's like the fact that we see the Dunning thing and then we do the Dunning thing again. In the TV show, they streamline it into one night. There's the Miss Mimi, and then there's Ellie, which literally Jake gets the two of them confused in this, almost in a self-aware, tongue-in-cheek way. Yeah. Like, do we feel that there's too many harmonics in this entirety of the book so far, where like this stuff is getting kind of tedious? Again, devil's advocate.
Yeah, For me, the reread made, because for years, Mike, all of us would talk about how I was always down on all the Oswald spying sections.
Yeah.
But I think that's because when you're reading it for the first time, you don't know how much longer that's going to go on.
Yeah.
So in the reread, I do know. So I'm able to enjoy it in its finite existence.
That's an interesting point.
And because I know where it's ultimately going to go and what the payoff of all this is going to be. So the reread made things a lot clearer for me, and it didn't feel too redundant. If anything, the harmonics stood out more in a positive way that maybe I missed the first go-round.
Well, I see this then. Knowing, though, the fate of Sadie, did that slow you down in any way? Because that's what kept me going in the first read was I have to know what happens with Jake and Sadie, but now I know that. So it's
I was looking forward to having her get shot again. No. No, it was this time. I know we were talking about a lot of foreshadowing that King does such a great job with, but I think it must have been sorrowful because there's no moment in this book where it's like, and that was the last time I saw her, which he does a great job of in other books. But reading this, I was kind of looking out for that, and there really isn't any blatant foreshadowing of she's going to die. I didn't see it this time at least.
No,
there's some foreshadowing but it's not so blatant or brutal.
Yeah, because I wanted to ask about that because it seems like for every decision in this section, King manages to wire some of his own foreshadowing. At one point, Sadie even mentions not to kill anyone by mistake. And mistake is italicized, how there's no future without him. And then Jake even stresses that she'll be the furthest from Oswald. I mean, these are all like sort of, I mean, even hell later on, they like plop down on a bench with a funeral parlor ad on it. So on reread, Flieger, did this kind of pop out to you?
Well, it ties to the theme of the book and the mechanism, right? It's time repeating, and every time you go back, it resets. So having these things happen throughout, I didn't mind them at all. The only one I thought was weird was actually the old woman that accosted Jake to not help. To me, it's just like that didn't really pay off. Like, but then she helped him. It's like that could have been.
Who are you? I'm Rhea of the Coos.
That would have actually been fun. But
call me Rhea.
So I didn't really mind that, but I also do think like the simpler, the happy ending of like not only do they save the day, but then he brings her to the future and happily ever after. And I think that's what the yellow card, orange card man was there. It was like this warning of like you think you can make this better, but you're going to get addicted to this idea of just going back and forth and back and forth. So I think Sadie. It was the right, the more powerful emotional decision. As much as I wanted them to be happy, it's a kind of a doomed quest from the start.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Any other thoughts on this section?
Yeah, I really love the doubling stuff. Like, I think in another book it would have really bugged me, but it's just so well written that I can excuse it. Also, if we're thinking about like watershed moments and the theme of the book, kind of like Dan, like what you were saying, going back and things, kind of happen over and over again. Like he does make a point to say like, we danced again, but it was never quite like this. Yeah. So it's this, he is able to like relive these watershed moments, like the smaller ones in his life. And kind of, you do get to relive them or you get to see something else, but it really just kind of tells you that it really only happens once, So I think there's kind of a thematic kind of thread going through that I really think is really beautiful.
I want to say something about, I think it's maybe the best place to talk about it before we move on to the big day section is how do we feel about the structure of it kind of becoming a journal? Specific dates and day. Do you want to hold on to that, Mike?
Yeah, save that for the next one. Okay. We're getting ahead because look, it looks like you're reading the TV guide because you already know the synopsis for what we're going to be watching next. It's primetime, baby. It's we're going to see if the characters are going to follow their hearts as the world turns.
As the world turns.
I'm glad you brought that up, Justin, because the thing where that really comes to fruition for me is when Jake sees Sadie in the room, when she figures it out herself, and she's able to deduce everything. Which, by the way, hell of a run by King to find out the sort of Rube Goldberg and how she found out all the details. It's like, I was at dinner and then I was kind of keeping my mind off of it. And then you know how it is with the I'm just like, damn, King, I know you love to explain how you get to these decisions, but he's the king at that, he's the king.
Literally.
But yeah, he is.
King stay king.
Mm-hmm.
Blaze being Blaze.
Blaze being Blaze.
So there's a section I really wanted to read, and it's on this. I think this will tie into the comment about the journal. So on page 714, this is Jake waking up in Oswald's old apartment, and he sees the figure. Come on, Jake, open your eyes. I did as I was told, although when I saw who was sitting beside me on the bed, I was at first positive I was dreaming after all. I had to be. But then I reached out, touched the leg of her faded blue jeans, and felt the fabric under my palm. Her hair was tied up, her face almost devoid of makeup, the disfigurement of her left cheek, clear and singular. It was Sadie. She had found me. And then it continues. And then you get the 11/22/63 Friday. That's the journaling. I sat up and embraced her without even thinking about it. She hugged me back as hard as she could. Then I kissed her, tasting her reality. The mingled flavors of tobacco and Avon. The lipstick was fainter. In her nervousness, she had nibbled most of it away. I smelled her shampoo, her deodorant, and the oily funk of tension sweat beneath it. Most of all, I touched her hip and breast, the scarred furrow of her cheek. She was there. Now, I don't know if it's just because we've been doing the reread or if that was intentional, but this doesn't seem like the regular descriptions that he was giving to Sadie earlier. This seems as if there's a sort of tinge of nostalgia, as if it's a writer that's not just living that moment, but relishing that moment. And someone who has experienced loss, does that come off to you? Am I just alone here? Like, is the format of the journaling really starting to come into fruition? We're like, oh, he is speaking from the past. Some of the stuff that he's foreshadowing and hinting at, there's something up here. Justin.
I do. I think I mentioned at the very beginning how I feel like this is the most procedural part of the book, and especially once you see 11, I think it's 11/17/63 is the first day of what seems like it's journaling. It feels a little bit more compact. But this is, like you said, Mike, the nostalgia creeping its way in, and almost like him putting off having to talk about what happens later on. And
yeah,
I think it's that day, right? It's
yes.
that day.
Yeah, this is the big day. This is the big day.
On the 23rd. Yeah. And no, but I do see that. It does feel like it's coming from somebody else or from a different structure than that of the Jake we're getting early on in the book. For sure. I think that's a good take.
And I think for me, it makes the book that much more affecting maybe on a reread, because I don't really have this thought when I'm reading it, for the first time, because you really don't have any idea. I don't think, I mentioned those, for lack of a better word, foreshadowing before, but that King puts in, but I don't think I had any of that when I was reading it. I don't think it popped out to me at all. And I think it's just a case of us rereading it. But I think the flavor or the sweet that we get to have for that reread is having that the pining that's kind of fueling this underneath. Jen, what do you think?
I think that's exactly right. And I had not picked up on it at all. And it makes me think, like, I've just been so along the ride with Jake. I didn't even think about this being something that we are reading that Jake wrote. I'm thinking, oh, this is just the next day. And I think that goes to the strength of Jake as a character, and flaws and all, because I'm getting frustrated with him, or I'm getting excited because he's doing things and I'm not even thinking about the fact that this is something he's working on in the mornings and he's working on the other book at night, even though he's not doing that anymore, but that he has gone back to the future and is now writing this, know, and I think that's a really great take on that. I hadn't thought about that at all, but it does make me want to cry knowing what's going to happen,
Justin.
Based on that title, the fake, the Murder House book, do you think that the title of this book was called something like Save President?
Yeah, probably.
Base title of all time.
Just the basic thing.
What's it about? Oh, what's it called? Murder House.
Murder House.
Yeah.
Okay.
It sounds like something like a Tubi original or something.
Yes.
You can see that orange disgusting banner on top of the fake video box on Tubi.
Yes. Fleeger.
I don't really have a whole lot to add on that. I pretty much agree with those what's been said there.
Well, let's ask you a question then.
Great.
Sadie,
Have a seat.
She's here. She knows all about the plans. Do you think Jake could have gone about this differently? Had let her in on this, maybe shown her the dangers before she felt that, she was being lied to? I mean, was there a better way for him to handle this to avoid what inevitably happens?
Man, that's such a hard question, because it's, how do you tell someone you're from the future? And it's like he really only revealed it to her, and then he got all messed up by the bookies really threw a wrench in the gears. Because if he had that time, right, he could have kind of conditioned her, taught her, trained her, maybe, but it's the bookies that really messed it up. And that's why I think he didn't really have a choice at that point. I mean, if they didn't have like cash on them that day, they couldn't get the crutch. They couldn't, it's like there were so many obstacles being slammed right in front of them. So, I mean, I think she had to be there. I don't think there's really much else, it's what is make plans and hear God laugh, So I don't think there's much he could have done. And I wonder, had he not been injured, when he would have, because I mean, he told her he didn't want her anywhere near it that day.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he ever really had a plan to bring her in, but at a certain point it was like, he has no choice. Like, what were the 5 years for if you're just going to abandon it? And that's, I think we talked about, sleeping through it. That would have been such a bleak ending.
Well, that's,
like
and
Twilight
King's
Zone
self-aware
ending or
about it.
something.
Like The Hobbit, the book.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Fantastic
When Bilbo
slumber.
falls
Yeah.
asleep and wakes up, he goes, "Oh, there's a great battle happened, but I'd fallen
Wait,
asleep."
in Hobbit movies, do they have Bilbo fall asleep at all?
No, the problem is they add another 4 hours to
Oh,
the
that's
story.
true. Yeah. Okay. That's
Which
great.
is why I've refused to watch them, so I don't know.
Don't get me started.
Yeah, we won't.
Oh,
We won't.
my.
Is The Hobbit published by then? Is Jake able to read The Hobbit when he's reading
Yes.
his, John
Yeah.
McDonald books? Oh, sure.
That and
Hobbit's old.
Lord of the
Yeah.
Rings are published by then, yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It's like 1930s.
Good. We cleared that up. Jen, I got to go to you for this because, there's a lot here. And I know that you were very curious about this too. It's just like her being kept away from the JFK plans.
Yeah.
What do you think Jake could have done better here?
It's the lying for me. It's like, I don't know if it just makes me think of this time. The guy I was dating in college, he and his sister were trying to grow pot in their closet, and they thought that I wouldn't find out about it, even though I'm at their house all the time. And I was like, what did you think? Did you think Sadie was not going to find out about this? Exactly. I was like, why do y'all keep, it's like when somebody keeps going to the bathroom over and over again, they're probably like wiping their nose when they come back,
Jen, I have it on good authority that King heard about this story about you and the situation and used it.
Oh, he did? Yeah,
to add color to
exactly.
the character of Jake and his lying and everything.
See,
how dare
King,
you?
and it didn't turn out well for either situation, did it?
No.
I was thinking, what if he was just so crazy at that point and like threw a TV at her head and said, "I'm not going to let time kill you," or something like that. "I'm going to kill you."
I will.
We'd throw a clock, not a TV, because
And then it just-
time.
Oh my God! It literally hits her on the head with it too.
And then it just
hey, you
cuts to
want
the next
time
section.
here?
It's
No,
like
but
Jake was on a bus on his way to Dallas, and it's just like, wait, what happened to Sadie?
Sadie was bleeding out in the apartment.
Oh my God. Well, yeah, I mean, he could have just killed Sadie to remove her as an obstacle. Yeah,
my
but
God.
it's like, I don't know. I don't think I would want him to do it any differently, but it's just like he spends so much effort trying to keep her out of this. But because he has intertwined his life with her, like, it just frustrates me that he thinks that that is possible, that he is able to fully love her, to want to marry her, and have a completely separate life from her, especially knowing what she's coming from. And I don't know if I would necessarily do anything different, but it just frustrates me, It's like, she's not stupid. She's going to find out. And she immediately catches up to him. Like, that's what cracks me up is, she's like, oh, it's that car who's squealing dust down there? Okay, yeah, I'll just follow that guy,
It's Rip Van Epping. He's falling asleep every 10 minutes,
Rip Van Epping. That could have been pretty funny if it was like, what was it in Deuce Bigelow when the date always falls asleep and stuff. And
Oh, God.
Anyway,
we finally
right.
mentioned Deuce Bigelow on the podcast.
Hey, I'm. It's very similar, right? Isn't I guess Rob Schneider would actually be.
No,
a good
11/22 is more similar to European Gigolo, not the first
Oh,
one.
that's true. That's
Don't
true.
forget.
Is that the one where Deuce, hides
He goes to
the
Europe.
gun and he tries to assassinate Mussolini and back in time?
Oh my God.
All right. Anyway, I'm going to ask and build upon my theory, and this is probably going to be more for Flieger. Because this goes back to the argument that we've always had. And so I've argued that Sadie, and I have on the last few episodes, that Sadie is Time's way of keeping Jake from Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So do you think that Time was either placing Sadie here to stop him, and this was the final attempt? Or do you think that this is now time putting Sadie there to take her out of there, to create this sort of consequence for Jake now? Because time's basically just going to arrange this so that all the effects are going to lead to Sadie dying now because you went past the crossroads mark. Because there is a crossroads mark early on where he could have just chosen to abandon all this and just go back, but he doesn't. And he lies to Sadie. And is it the lying that causes her death, or is it time literally forcing Sadie into this equation?
No, I think it's almost like kind of some of the lessons that Roland learned, which he's too robotic, right? But along the way, he kind of realizes like, wow, it was like the friends, But I think Sadie might be there as a distraction, right? But that's what happens in real life too. You're going to college and then you meet someone and you move or you get pregnant or you join. It's these little things that happen are life. And just for the nature of this book, I think Sadie coming there and pulling him, because I mean, her being attacked by Clayton is what pulls him from watching the general be shot at, right? Mm-hmm. She is a distraction. I mean, a welcome distraction and a good distraction, but Jake could have just been if he was like a sociopath and just was purely methodical, Sadie would have never gotten in the way. But so I think there is some force of time, but then it's whether she's overcoming fate or Ka, right? Or, or if the side of good and the light is pushing her forward to save and it's like maybe she is breaking in a way from her own fate.
Yeah, because she does give the ultimatum.
I mean, she is going to die. I think that's inevitable, but it's when. And she's able to at least push him that much further. Kind of, again, like the journey to the tower. Like some of the companions fall along the way as they push him forward in a very heroic fashion. I mean, she dies a hero.
But see, there's our debate. So I don't think her death was inevitable. I think that her death was inevitable once Jake decided not to go back and to lie and to continue to keep going.
Don't you think Clayton would have killed her then?
I don't think Clayton. No, because in real life, I mean, he wouldn't have killed her in the past one either. I mean,
but she even says like, "Oh, if I didn't meet you, I would have met someone else. He still would have come for me." She kind of acknowledges that.
I guess in the sense, because if you look back and we can't spoil the ending. We cannot spoil the ending. Yeah. But Jen, sorry. Or Justin.
No, yeah.
Jen,
Podcasting 101, my favorite podcast.
Yeah.
I'll say some really quick.
Yeah.
I don't think that at this point in that final day she's being used by time. I think, once again, I think I said this earlier, Jake does not make it to the book depository that day without Sadie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that I don't think time wants her there at all, but she is the one that's kind of going up against this obdurate past and whatnot, or trying to change the obdurate past. And time doesn't know what to do about it. I guess if you want to see her death as, well, this is your punishment, Jake, for killing Oswald, I get that. But I don't think that she is being used as a tool at this point at all.
Okay.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is that it almost feels like a punishment, And because I think that she is an element of time. She is a distraction, or she is a tool with her role in Jake's life. And you could say the same thing about Jody. Sure. But there's this really interesting moment where he sees a blue sunliner and I don't want to spoil the ending, and I don't want to kind of creep into my overall thoughts of the novel. But what I think is interesting is, if she is a tool of time, is this a positive tool or a negative tool?
Yeah.
Is the sunlighter placed there by a benevolent force, by the turtle that wants the beam to stay, or is the sunliner, did the dark man drop it off? Something like that. Like, what side is Sadie being used by?
I think
who placed the sunliner?
Sorry, it's like a piece on a board, honestly, that light and dark are just shifting back and forth, and it's just a game in a kind of weird way, and she's just a pawn in the grand scheme of things, but she kind of rises to become a queen.
Yeah.
She does. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it seems to me the minute she makes the ultimatum, she's just in jeopardy as Jake.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she's become an element outside of her own time.
Yeah.
She's joined Jake on the mission. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is, I think that is what is the inevitable thing.
Yeah. Should we talk about Oswald real quick?
I don't know.
What does he have to do with any of this?
Yeah. I mean, so
let me check my notes. Who is this again?
On page 659, Jake says he kind of feels pity for Oswald and calls him a wasted life. What do we think about this? Do we agree?
I mean, wasted life in a way. It's like, well, I mean, he did have a major impact on history, but I think this is King speaking of all the research that he had done, and he's like, yeah, at the end of it, I mean, what was
he's a loser?
For? Yeah, I mean, he's just born to die. But I mean, wasted in the tragic sense, but certainly had quite an impact on history.
Yeah,
the royal wasted.
Wasted, like Red Dead Redemption.
There's this monstrous side to Lee that Jake points out, and it's, it obviously parallels the sort of monster that he sees inside Dunning earlier. What do we make of this description? Do we think this is taking a little bit too many liberties with history, or do you think it works in this vein?
Well,
I think go ahead. Sorry. I was just saying, I think that in terms of the monstrous side, I think it goes beyond just him trying to kill a president. I think it's everything that we've seen with him and his wife. That's monstrous, the way he treats his wife. And now we could say that, well, the reasoning behind that is because of his upbringing and this and that. And like I always say about these incidents in the world and with people is, you can understand the cause, but the cause. The cause. No, you can understand the cause, but it doesn't give the person the excuse later on.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that is when I'm thinking about the monstrous side. I do think it's that Lee was always monstrous, but it doesn't make him less of a loser. It doesn't make him have less of a wasted life, but that's where I stand on it, I guess.
George that was it, Mornschild. I can never say that name.
Mornschild?
Even when he's being interrogated, he goes, he's a semi-educated hillbilly, and my friend wanted to fuck his wife. And
very good, Dan.
Thank you. But I mean, this is the guy that's hanging out with him, and he's even like, yeah, he's kind of like a stupid hillbilly, but it gives the idea of like, is he a handler for the CIA? Is he just there because he's, Lothario wants to go after the guy's wife? But and I'll save it for another time, but it is still very strange to me that this guy that is like millionaire is like spending his time with this guy that can, is living in a $60 a month apartment.
Right.
But even that guy who's the closest to him kind of like looks down on him.
Well, I think the wasted life thing, doesn't necessarily make me feel pity for Lee himself, but just like how many people he hurts with this wasted life, and how like there were opportunities for somebody to step in or for him to not be radicalized the way he was. And that is what is wasted, is he could have done something good with his life, but he caused all of this pain and misery. And that the monstrous moment, it feels very King, which is partly why I really love it. But if we're also talking about Sadie as a piece on the chessboard, then Lee is a piece on the chessboard as well. And I mean, he says, I'm a patsy, and so that's kind of one of the things I've been kind of ranting about through these episodes is like, if he's a piece on the chessboard, then somebody else could pick him up and move him too. And Jake is just not attempted to do that. And I'm not saying he should, but it's just like, was there any other way to prevent this other than just stopping him? Could he have been a chess piece that was moved towards another part of the board?
Yeah. Yeah. Justin.
Would it have been a turnoff if during this section, Jake says something like, I looked into him, he became a monster, and his eyes almost appeared to have silver dollars in them.
Yeah, he had like an orange pom-pom on his gun.
I'm back.
Throwing the book across the room.
Well, I mean, I have a question about the Derry and Dallas. Let's just bring it up now. Like, there is some sort of parallel that King's bridging here, because he brings it up multiple times. And obviously there's the harmony between what happens with Dunning and Derry and what happens in Dallas and Oswald. But is there a larger theme that King is maybe exploring between these two towns or these two incidents per se?
Well, I mean, he says Dallas is Derry, Derry is Dallas earlier in the book.
I know, but like, what do we make of that now? Because he does it again.
Just like I was saying, almost like a radio tower, like that brings in evil or energies. Like it's just a cursed town. He feels it as soon as he goes to Dallas, and then as soon as he's heading back to Dallas, right? That's when things really start. It's a more difficult climb. It's like going into Mordor. It's just you're going up the mountain. It's just more and more and more evil things, and preventative measures are being taken against you. Going far away from it would actually be the safer thing to do, but then you wouldn't achieve what you're supposed to do.
Well, if you want to look at it as with the beam, right? It's like opposite sides of the beam. But it's the same type of world, I guess you could say, Dallas and the more things change, the more they stay the same. I mean, Dallas isn't, no shots to people who are listening who live in Dallas, but it's not great.
Yeah. Well, and I think the evil there is indifference, because when you think about Derry, one of the worst or the most sinister or most upsetting things is how the adults just don't seem to see any of the things that their kids are going through. And I feel like there's a lot of that in Dallas and with Lee, and I keep ranting about Jake not stepping in, but it might be an element of that same thing. It's like, what actions could you take to prevent this that you're not doing, or that you're just kind of like, well, it's a bad town, so we see these bad things and we just keep going. It's like the guy who got shot on the street, or shot himself on the street, and other people just passing by, and it's just another piece of day, and I think like the comparison, like I love all of this twinning, and one thing you learn in education is discernment. Like you learn what something is by learning what it's not. And so I think that by comparing all of these things and by like having like all of these twinning moments, that's where we can really pull these themes out of the actual thing, because it isn't just Derry. It is an attitude of evil or malevolent indifference that just exists in both of these places. And so then we can say, well, does that exist in where I live too, and am I a part of that?
Well, there's a premonitory feeling that comes from being in Dallas for him, and he when he first arrives in Dallas, which I think was, God knows which episode that was on for us. I think 3. Yeah.
2 or 3.
Yeah, 3. Because 2's Derry, 3 probably is when we're living in the past and all.
Oh, yeah.
What episode is this? 10, 11?
Oh, yeah. I think this is 16 or 19.
It's 11. It's 63.
Yeah. But, he talks about how there is a chill of being in this area of a place that from the future, and that that hasn't existed yet, but the evil it contains. And I think this is a thing that, at least a curiosity that really, gets under King's skin here, where we can't exhibit that. We talked about that in part 3. It's like, that's a feeling that we'll probably, unless a DeLorean with, plutonium comes into our hands eventually, we'll never have that experience. Like we could never go and, I'm sure when you look back and like watch like Home Alone now, and he's on, or Home Alone 2, and he's on the top of the World Trade Center. Now we go, oh, there's something menacing about seeing that now, because we know it's going to happen. But I wonder if Derry is King's way of kind of reconciling with that feeling a future traveler would have, to be able to go back to the haunted house before it was the haunted house, Like, could we ever go back to that point where, oh, we never heard that urban legend, and this is actually a nice house, I want to live in it? We can't. And so I'm wondering if Derry is his way of being able to kind of chew on those themes a little bit. But anyway, that's
like inevitability too. Like we can go back in time and we can try to stop this, but if this current exists in our history, then it's going to come out regardless. Or is there actually a way to stop this evil, or do we just have to keep chipping away at it every day?
Yeah. Last question for this section. What would you have done differently in Jake's shoes?
I would have gone back immediately, killed Lee Harvey Oswald, and seen if Vietnam happened.
Flieger,
so,
yeah. Blew my mind.
That's that.
The Flieger.
No, but it's like it completely destroys the whole fun of narrative.
Of course,
exactly.
I know, it destroys the whole thing.
It's one of the things I hate. It's just it's
the journey. Not
if you have to space it out, but I do hate watching movies with people when they're like, why don't they just do that? And it's just like, well, because then we wouldn't have any conflict, right?
Yes.
And let's just all go home.
But I'm saying in this moment, you're running up the stairs.
When they show up in the book depository?
Yes.
I don't think there's anything they could have done differently.
Yeah.
Like that's part of what I think it's such a well-constructed narrative, is that like I don't know what I would have done.
Well,
everything they do, they don't do anything wrong,
Justin.
I said he's an assassin, not a vigilante, but doesn't mean he's a good assassin. And you really think about it, at the end of the day, there are 2 patsies in the book depository.
Oh.
Yeah. And
because what is a patsy? What is Jake?
Yeah.
Jake
it's a chess piece.
is being persuaded to do this act.
Right.
Yep.
He's not a professional. He's just, so.
And by who? And what is the force driving that? Which I think is something I want to talk about a lot when we talk about our final thoughts, because he is a patsy, and what in like, just like Lee has these weaknesses or this like bad home life, and that's what, like Jack in the Overlook, like there's this weakness that allows him to this mission to kind of creep in Jake is a person who needs a mission, and the whoever is using him as a patsy found him. You know,
the only thing I can think of just from a practical point of view is because they say you can't take the elevator because it might fail, but why not have Sadie take the elevator and you take the stairs just to kind of hedge your bets? And also,
I mean, that would keep her away from the guns,
right?
You know,
but I mean, it could have collapsed, into it. Who knows? But also, maybe I don't know if they had smoke alarm or fire alarm systems quite back then. But maybe pull the fire alarm so that there's commotion, and then the Kennedy. I'm sure if Secret Service heard an alarm going off, they might be like, "All right, we got to do something here." But I do think him reaching. I mean, he reaches as he's about to take the shot. It comes down all that preparation, all those 5 years come down to but a moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's a watershed moment. Yeah.
You know what's wild about that, and I think I'm right. Who has the hard copy with them right now?
I don't have it right now with me, but
I think when the bus crashes to Sadie dying is 22 pages.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Let me look.
Am I right? Is that 22 pages?
No, it goes very rapid fire.
Yeah, it's like a nonstop thrill ride, if you will.
I thought that was interesting 11/22/63, and the chaos is 22 pages long.
22 pages.
I think it is. Watch it be like 24, and that was wrong, and who gives a shit?
Well,
Jack
and what's
Bauer.
interesting is the amount of time they spend fucking is actually 63 pages.
I thought it was 69 pages.
It would have been 69, but he wanted. It originally was, but he trimmed off 6.
So I found an old photo of essentially where he was when he did the shot. And in the book depository, and a little movie that I like to call Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny came to mind because I think what Jake could have done is instead of running at him to shoot him, could have done something that our old pal Jones did in Dial of Destiny, which is push the bookcases and just hit him that way. And you basically would, because if you look at it, there's a photo, and I'll put it on socials or whatever, but there's a photo and there's a ton of boxes, and there are a ton of boxes that are like right over where he was at with the gun. I think you throw that box at, like, you push the box on him, you go around the other way, you push the box on him, it at least stops him to the point where he's probably going to drop his gun, he's probably going to be overloaded with it, and then that'll be enough. But I think running at him it was just a stupid idea. I think that
there was just like such a frantic thing. I think he was just trying, I've got to shoot him. I don't think he was even thinking about logistics at that point. I think he was just worried about the stairwell collapsing or something.
Or just like approach the building with a Molotov cocktail and just throw it against the building.
I was going
to
to say
these flames.
6 floors. Just kill
saying,
everyone.
But the Secret Service is trained that if they see like blinking lights or they are looking out for abnormalities. So a building being on fire, they're going to just get the president, they're going to spirit him away.
I mean, if he did end up knocking him over with all the bookshelves, it would have also been a great opportunity for him to go up to him and say, like, no shooting in the library.
Why not drop an anvil on his head? Yeah.
Well, we do call that the Tremors move, with when you knock over bookshelves. But that's the thing. Like, it's if you have a gun, you're going to use it. And so I think it's a little bit, maybe, I don't know if I would call that hubris, but it's just a commotion, and he's not thinking.
It's the most efficient way to cross a distance and kill someone, right? It's you're there, I'm here, but I want to shoot you fast.
Is it? Because it kills Sadie, though.
But does Sadie get killed by his gun? Or
it's Oswald.
Oswald's gun.
Oswald,
right? But because I wasn't sure when the Secret Service started just like firing into the building, I wasn't immediately clear. But I guess it was Oswald has the final shot on Sadie, right?
Yeah.
Hey,
it's actually there's a weird clown kind of hanging sideways on the brick wall, kind of shooting in.
He's got like a little funny gun that's like painted all different colors.
He walks in, he's like, "What's that refrigerator doing in the middle of the room?"
God. Yes. Yes. I guess we have to talk a little bit about Sadie's death, although I really want to wait for next episode for that. But I guess I'll just ask real quick though, like, does she has to die, right?
Yeah.
For this to have the impact?
Yeah.
I think for King's style of writing, he doesn't always take the easy way out. And I think letting her live, like I said, that would be a little too, happily ever after. And I just don't think that's his style.
Yeah, Jake has to pay for some of this. Like, he has to suffer a cost, and even though he has been hurt and he's lost a lot, like this, when we're talking about like the balance too, it's like Oswald doesn't feel like he balances JFK. Like, I feel like saving Kennedy without losing something doesn't feel balanced to me. As much as I hate it, like I love Sadie.
Bye.
You mentioned Deke Jen earlier in the notes, and how he could have been a third person since he knew, about that he was making calls and everything. If let's say that they did a quartet sort of thing, and it's the three of them, and Deke's the one who dies, does it kind of cheapen the book?
Yeah. I think so. Although it is interesting that I don't know if I would call him and Sadie a quartet, Like this is maybe one of the fewer ones where it's not a quartet that kind of bands together.
It's almost like Mimi falling in Mexico. 4 of you will go and 1 will fall.
Oh, yeah. She's got
What if Deke showed up and was like, oh, there's 3 of us. Well, here's my grandson, Jake.
Yeah. Oh.
Another Jake.
Don't they mention that he's like sick, right?
Yeah, that he might have, he's like a heart attack.
Been there, but he's just like, he's so bedridden with the.
It's probably time.
Time
but what if he fell in the middle of the road, pretended to have a heart attack, stopped the motorcade?
Ooh.
There you go.
That's what I'm saying. And I guess
I'm done, the locksmith.
But that's what I'm saying. Is I guess Shakespeare is being detained in the past, though, right?
Yeah.
If anything, that you're like, this guy's going to kill him, they'd be like, all right, Secret Service is going to definitely arrest you. And then they do research and they're like, wow, your entire past is made up. And you're not going back to the present day after that.
No. You're not going anywhere.
That's when you got the suicide.
Mr. Amberson.
Aw. Hugo Weaving.
Samara
from The Hobbit, Battle of the Five Armies.
Did you know
that? All right, I think we've had enough soaps for today. At least on, but who loves soaps, especially on the page? Our girlfriend Annie Wilkes, and her favorite soap, Misery.
She died. She just slipped away.
Slipped away! Slipped away! She didn't just slip away! You did it! 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 You murdered my Misery!
Annie!
Round robin. What are some things you didn't like in this section? Let's start with Justo.
Okay, quote, I spent my days there cooking her meals, working in her little garden, which would sicken but not quite die in another hot Central Texas summer, and reading Bleak House to her, end quote. So, was he planning on reading to her for the next, 10 years? Bleak House is 1,000 pages, the smallest font, and extremely complicated. There's 80 characters. I have started this book multiple times, and I keep having to find myself, going back pages to see who the hell everybody is. There is absolutely no way that anybody could read this book to somebody and have either of them keep track. That's my misery. I did of all the books in the world for it to be any other Dickens would do. But Bleak House is way too complicated to read to somebody.
I know exactly how long it would take. It was a 20-episode serial, and it ran from March 1852 all the way to September 1853. That's how long
it's still running. I mean, that thing is just it's relentless.
Doesn't sound like it's a fun story either.
It's bleak.
Well, it's like the Murder House,
Bleak House, Murder
House. Yeah, maybe that was it. He was trying to get some ideas for Murder House.
Oh yeah.
What if he was working in a little garden and reading Murder House to her?
His book.
And she's like, Jake, stop, please.
Jake, you're a wonderful man, but
when does this have an ending? Any other misery?
I got one.
All right.
Okay, this is when he's talking to De Mohrenschildt. One day his temper will get him in trouble. Jean likes the strippers. They get her hot. He shrugged as if to say, who could understand women? Now are you? He looked down, saw the gun in my fist, and stopped talking. His eyes widened. His tongue came out and licked his lips. It made a particular wet, slurping sound as he drew it back into his mouth.
Gross. Gross stuff. You don't like the licking of the lips because you said
I
that
do
last
not.
week.
I don't like spit at all. Yeah. Slobber. Ugh, gross.
Well, get away from me when I'm having a cigarette with you, because I always
just
spit when I'm so
coming off the cigarette. Would you like a puff?
Something happened to me last. I was running a few days ago, and it was really cold out, and I had a buildup saliva, so I went to go spit, but it was too dry of a mouth, and it went all over my fucking sweater, and I was like, oh my god.
This is my misery for the episode.
Yeah. All right, go for it.
I know, then I just somewhere exploded because I knew it had happened.
Mike goes jogging with a bib.
Yeah, I should. Flieger. Any misery?
Not tons, but I guess the boxing match seems a little drawn out. I was kind of wait, why are we spending so much time here at this boxing match?
Yeah.
I get like the importance with the gambling, but it just seemed like, especially when things were ramping up so quickly for Oswald, and it just seemed kind of like an unusual like speed bump, I guess, in the story. But I know why it's there. It just seems strange.
I do like how horny it makes them.
Yeah,
I think that's funny.
All that blood on the
Violence,
blood and spit on the boxing.
I mean, like a bucket of spit. You know, who would want
Absolutely.
to fuck after that? You know,
I'm thinking Sadie would have loved to see the movie Rocky when it comes.
yeah,
She would have loved it.
She would have
Totally
loved it.
And-
MMA. Yes.
Iron Claw,
Warrior.
Oh, that's wrestling.
I don't have any really. I guess the only one that always sticks out is because we see where this goes eventually down the road. It's just, when they talk about Obama, and it's just like, oh, how's he doing? He's odds are out or whatever. But it's like this one little line that seems so perfunctory to me. It's just like, okay,
He's doing pretty good.
I know.
Could you imagine if this was
he
written
wasn't
in
wrong.
2017?
Yeah.
Oh, but I know that's the thing. It's like it'd be a whole long diatribe, but it just felt very. Yeah, it felt of that. But honestly, not a lot. I mean, I
got a couple, but go ahead, Fleer.
Oh, go.
I was gonna say one. So when he leaves the hospital, when he gets down to 138 pounds and he's 6'4", and I put that into the BMI scale, and he's dangerously underweight. So I didn't.
Oh,
that.
absolutely.
It was like Mike TV from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I have to read this as written.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna get me a place right there in Dealey Plaza. Got sandwiches in my bag. That's a little uncomfortable with the black woman on the
just
That's-
ridiculous.
on the bus.
Yeah.
It's very. He's gonna be mayor.
Yeah.
Mayor.
Oh, it's a little much.
Is that the
I
housekeeper?
got one that might be really controversial. I got one that might be.
Uh-oh.
This could be the first instance of I've got
Justin
a misery,
getting
and somebody
canceled.
might have it in Word Processor of the Gods. I'm curious if the three of you are going to say about this. All right. Oh, how we danced. I think it's a little too much. Her last words.
I agree.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, as her last words, yes.
Yeah, I think it's.
I like it.
I think it's a little too much.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if she had to have anything to say at the end, or starts to say something about something, but it was a little. And with the exclamation point, it just seemed a little bit like one of those soap operas you were mentioning, Mike, throughout the episode.
I agree. Yeah, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I started thinking about soap operas too. Like the exclamation is what kills me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the last gasp.
Can I defend it?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
So I just think like it's a very poetic way to go out. And she is a librarian, right? So she's like a learned person who has read. And it's like, obviously it's like that first dance is when they kind of really fell for each other. But I think it's just like almost like having lived on Earth and just had this life. And it's just like how we danced, like how, me and you made some beautiful music together. And it's just, that's it. And, it's like, think if she could go back in time, she would go back to that moment where they shared that first dance, because it was never as good as then. So I just think it's a magic moment. And I don't know, I believe in love, romance, caring for other people, but that maybe wouldn't appeal to you guys that much.
I mean, listen, all joking aside, to be fair, her original last line was, "I'll never know what happens in Bleak House."
I'm trying to think what would be a similar sentiment without the sort of
how we
dramatic swing.
podcasted.
Oh,
Fiddly dee.
That's all of
What if
our
she
last
just said,
words.
I'll never see Obama.
Thanks for the pound cake.
I know.
Oh, how we pound caked it.
Oh God.
What if it was like, what's the bungalow place called? Candlewood? If that was
Candlewood
just her last.
Bungalow, yeah.
If her last word was just Candlewood.
Candlewood. Oh, that would be sweet.
Yeah.
But I
Well, that
hope
would be
my
good,
last
actually.
words are elegant. It's probably
Yeah,
like,
I'm hoping to plan it out.
Yeah.
just some squelchy noise.
I've got a whole script.
Mine's gonna be like,
What if it was like super X-rated? Like, remember when we fucked that time?
Yeah,
Thanks for the fucks.
so long and thanks for the fuck.
It's like, I'm going to borrow a really disgusting terminology for this, but she was just like, thanks for not, or no, should they say like, thanks for the chow?
Oh my God.
All right.
I just
think we're
there's
just creating our own
You
misery.
promised
now.
you'd eat me out after
Yeah.
we killed Kennedy.
Like, yeah.
The president died that day.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Anyway, all right, we've absolutely killed this incredible
Sorry.
moment.
Bleak pod.
Well, let's go to the not so bleak section where the sun shines over us, specifically on the word processor of the gods.
And we're gonna make a new rule. Whenever I'm in here, you hear me typing. whether you don't hear me typing, what the fuck you hear me doing in here. When I'm in here, that means that I am working. That means don't come in. Now, do you think you can handle that?
Yeah.
Fine. Why don't you start right now and get the fuck out of here?
I've got one.
Yeah, go for it.
It's on page, I don't have the page, but it's when Sadie is dying, and it's How We Dance.
Yeah.
I just love that movie.
I knew it.
No, I'm kidding.
I know.
I was going to say that one. I have it written down. Now I
Oh,
feel
were you?
stupid. Yeah.
No, I knew
I'm
that
done.
somebody would have the opposite take.
Dan's a romantic at heart,
Because I get it.
Yeah.
Who wants to go first? I mean, Jen did, but who wants to go next?
It's Jen's fake one.
It was a real one.
Yeah.
I've got something here. It's again, this is such a procedural part of the book, but it's because of that. I think it's his attention to detail regarding the story's place and time. He could have just said Jake walked into Sadie's hospital room and left it at that, but then we get the description. Quote, it was an overheated single, not much bigger than a closet. There was no bathroom. An ugly commode that only a dwarf could have used comfortably squatted in the corner with a semi-opaque plastic curtain to pull across for semi-privacy. Instead of buttons to raise and lower the bed, there was a crank. Its white paint worn off by many hands. Of course, there were no monitors showing computer-generated vital signs and no TV for the patient either. It really does try to put you back into how even more impossible it was to be in a hospital 60 years ago with relatively, not primitive tools and whatnot, but it's compared to our modern days. Yeah.
I just remember,
I just thought that was really well done.
Like my grandpa got like what do you call it when they like the bypass surgery on his heart, and they would like crack your ribs open, do it.
Yeah.
And then 10 years later he did it, and they're like, oh yeah, we just stick like through your ribs now. We don't even, that's so barbaric that we would crack your chest. And that was in the 90s.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Like my mom works in the recovery room, and they don't even put you to sleep for a lot of surgeries now because it's easier to recover if they don't, which.
Yeah.
But
A lot of surgeries now that used to be like you're under.
Yeah.
They do it with you're awake or with
like a nerve blocker or something.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's
They'll
what
do
Al,
brain surgery now. People are talking an hour later. It's insane.
but like Al has
or through it,
like he warns him when Jake gets hurt, and he's like, you don't want to go to a Dallas bone saw in the 1950s, do you?
Oh, that's so
I think
creepy.
that's true.
Yeah.
You see what we have to work with here.
But that's also why.
Speaking of the Joker,
but when he says like, if you come to the future with me, Sadie, like we have the medical technology to help you. So it is this theme of like, as far ahead as they were, they're still very primitive and old fashioned.
Yeah.
And that part does set the scene good for the reader too, to really think about the times.
Yeah.
To preface him telling Sadie, we've got so much better medically.
And the food might taste, the root beer is better back then, but I think it's also that, nothing gold can stay.
But that would lead you to more hospital visits too with that root beer.
And with lesser quality of care.
Yeah.
I got one. It's on 6:15. It's when they're at the dance. Oh, do you have this one also?
Yeah,
go for it. No, you go for it. Go for it.
This is the one I thought, Justin, you were going to read. It starts on page 615. For a moment, everything was clear. And
I have this too. Go ahead.
For a moment, everything was clear. And when that happens, you see that the world is barely there at all. Don't we all secretly know this? It's a perfectly balanced mechanism for shouts and echoes pretending to be wheels and cogs, a dream clock chiming beneath a mystery glass we call life. Behind it, below it, and around it, chaos, storms, men with hammers, men with knives, men with guns, women who twist what they cannot dominate and belittle what they cannot understand, a universe of horror and loss surrounding a single lighted stage where mortals dance in defiance of the dark.
Oh, it's so good.
Great. That's excellent.
So good.
Excellent.
That's the theme of the book.
Yeah. Exactly. And I'm feeling a little bit bad because I did like that "And We Dance." When Sadie dies, it is cheesy, but I think what I like about it now that I'm thinking about it is that we've seen all of that from Jake's perspective, and we've seen how meaningful that dance was to him, but I don't know if we've ever seen that from Sadie's, and just to know that they did both find that really meaningful, I think that's really sweet.
Yeah. Justin, do you have another one?
I think it's actually shortly after that quote, Jen. I've got something else. I love you, George, which brought down the house, of course. In dark times when even the sages are uncertain, declarations of love always do. That was very beautiful.
Fleeger.
So I like when she's in the hospital and she's so afraid of her appearance, and he says, "If there's love, scars are as cute as dimples."
Yeah, I really like that one.
Bleeding heart romantic over here, but I think that's very sweet. And like I do remember some people like being self-conscious of like, oh, I have this or birthmark or something. I was like, if someone's attracted to you, they like want to kiss it, like it's attractive.
That's the Japanese proverb that opens the book. I think it's if there's love,
I know we've talked about it.
That's it. I was waiting for that to come up.
But that's I've been quoting that for years. Like whenever someone I know gets like whatever, some blemish.
Well, if it had at the beginning of the book, it had the proverb and it said Dan Flieger.
Because Dan went back in time and made sure he was the first person to say that.
Dan appropriated it.
Yeah, no, I got a tattoo of it, and then we danced. Yeah, that on the other bicep.
In italics.
And I don't have the exact quote, but I just want to talk about a section that I really liked. I lost the quote on it, but when Jake is being questioned by the school official about living with Sadie, and he just basically is like, "Get the fuck out of here!" And it's just him not even trying to fit in anymore. Yeah, but it's like he really stands up for himself and for her, and just is like, "I'm done with this. I'm no more faking Mr. 1950s nice guy."
And that's that moment in Carrie with like the assistant principal and Chris Hargenson's dad that I just love, that fucking smackdown,
So much for her. She still gets murdered by Carrie,
That's true. Yeah, it doesn't last for long.
I know.
But yeah, she, somebody fighting for Carrie too. It's nice.
Yeah.
Wait, does she live in the book and then die in the movie?
No, she dies in both. She just dies in different ways in the both.
Okay. Go for it, Jen.
Well, I have a couple more. The one that Justin read earlier about like women gentling men, I think it's hard to read, but I think it is really well written and a really good summation of like feelings about that kind of thing, especially in the South, at the time. And there are a lot of people that still believe it. But it's actually the part that's right after the Danced in Defiance of the Dark. On page 616, Mike and Bobby Jill danced in their time, and their time was 1963, that era of crew cuts, console television, and homemade garage rock. They danced on a day when President Kennedy promised to sign a nuclear test ban treaty and told reporters he had no intention of allowing our military forces to be mired in the arcane politics and ancient grudges of Southeast Asia. They danced as Bevy and Richie had danced, as Sadie and I had danced, and they were beautiful, and I loved them, not in spite of their fragility, but because of it. I love them still.
That's great.
Which I might have that as in our next one, our next summation of the book.
It's that whole section is just phenomenal.
It's so good.
The only other one I had was just on 702, and it's just him talking to Mr. K at the place where he's recovering at. I don't even really need to read it, but it's just a little bit about. Well, I'll read the quote because he thinks that this guy might have died in his wheelchair outside, and he wakes up and he's like, "No, just listening to my music, son. They play swing at night on KMAT, and it really takes me back. I could Lindy and bunny hop like nobody's biz back in the old days, though you'd never know it to look at me now. Ain't the moon pretty?" And it's kind of just like a way of saying like, ain't that life too?
Yeah. Well, and if you pair that with like Mike and Bobby Jill dancing too, it's like we all have our times to dance and those times end, and we can remember them.
I was just say,
leaving Bev and Richie dancing, we know what happens to them in the future. Like that's also very finite too.
Yeah. What's also finite is sometimes where we end up. And that could be the cemetery.
What's the bottom of the truth?
Well, sometimes that is better. The person you put up there ain't the person that comes back. It may look like that person, but it ain't that person. Because whatever lives in the ground beyond that cemetery ain't human at all.
What? Yeah, finite. It's that. You're going there.
It's your final.
You're buried,
place.
And not all of us end up at the cemetery. Maybe we'll be scattered somewhere else.
I know, but some people.
I'm in the Pacific.
I'm taking a lot of innocent people with me. So.
Oh, all right.
We'll see you at the book depository.
Yeah, talk about the cemetery.
Jesus.
Who wants to kick this one off?
I got this really grossed me out. Quote: Carmo smiled as if I'd said something cute, plucked the wrapped pipe from the table and swung it at my left knee. I heard something down there make a popping sound, like a big knuckle. The pain was exquisite. Ugh. Any knee stuff and arm bone stuff always destroys me.
Yeah, the stuff with all the descriptions of how he gets hurt.
Yeah.
It was hard to read.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I thought the Sadie's mom just being such, like, and they call her a crocodile, but then when they're like taking the bandage off, she's like leaning in eagerly, and it's like, are you envious of your daughter's beauty? And it was so like, and then they bring like the in-laws, and it's to not have like parents in your corner that would fight for you, but also like actively enjoy your suffering. It's just such a scary idea.
Yeah.
Any others?
Yeah, I have a couple with when Lee dies. So
I think we have the same one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I've got two. Go ahead, because I've got two there, and I'll read the other one.
Yeah, he seemed. Yeah, this is talking about when he shoots him. He danced like a doll in the hazy, sawdusty light, and that terrible snarl never left his face. He wasn't a man at the end, I tell you. He was something else. Whatever gets into us when we listen to our worst angels. It's just like a really good line. Also, I mean, I guess that could have been in word processor, but just the image of him like still as like this, like, snarling beast is really eerie to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it reminded me of like we were talking about the Hobbit, but like Bilbo and Frodo has the ring and he's like, "Give it to me." It's just that burst of like, you're like, was he possessed? Like, what, or is it just evil manifesting itself? But Jake does say, he's like, no, he was more like, he was a demon, which is very interesting.
Well, and that's the other one I have. So when they first get up to the book depository, he turned his head and looked at me, eyes wide, mouth hung open. For a moment, he was just Lee, the guy who had laughed and played with Junie in the bath, the one who sometimes hugged his wife and kissed her upturned face. And then his thin and somehow prissy mouth wrinkled into a snarl that showed his upper teeth. When that happened, he changed into something monstrous. I doubt you believe that, but I swear it's true. He stopped being a man and became the demonic ghost that would haunt America from this day on, perverting its power and spoiling its every good intent.
Yeah,
man, I feel like a monster.
But it's,
let's go, Lee.
So if Flag is based on the sympathy for the devil, version of the devil, he was there when the Kennedys were killed.
Yeah.
So there could be some kind of demonic possession. I mean, they do twice mention that he was no longer like a man. It's not just symbolic, but he was like, I saw him snarl, and you're like, that's not fitting with the Oswald that we, he would never be that brave. He would be hot-headed, but he would never be that like monstrous.
Sounds like a beast of burden.
That's such a king.
Christine.
Hey, Christine, I was just going to say, yeah. But that's such a King thing. And part of the reason I think I love King's writing is he's like, we are all kind of existing in like the 80% between hero and villain. And it's just kind of how we open the door to let these outside influences manipulate us. Because he could have ranted about killing Kennedy, but was it the presence of the dark man there that pushed him over the edge to actually do it,
Yeah, he's so good at these personifications too. Like that's why I love when we talk. I think we talked about last episode, where it was just like the concept of time being this obdurate thing is such a good King construct to have, because when you think about it, it's almost just like what he does with Derry and certainly even just like the influence of, I guess for lack of a better word, God and the Stand. Like it's just these powers that be that. I think he's really good at showing how there's not maybe a personality per se, but there's something knowing about it. And I love when he gets to do that. I kind of wish that he'd do more of this. I think some of his best writing is when he's able to just do the unexplainable and just be like, all right, that's what's happening. The only other one I had was nothing. Oh, Sadie's scar is pretty, like the way he describes it. Yeah. It's pretty harrowing,
Yeah.
Do you have that one?
I was gonna say in the miniseries, which we'll get to, but it's like much more of just like a line.
I know. Yeah.
It's like this. It's like it's into her mouth from like the side of her cheek, which is gross.
Yeah. It's not like, it looks like Possessor or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jen, do you have one more?
No, not in Misery. Although her scar, I think I blocked that as I was reading it.
Well, hope you're all hungry, because although hospitals have Jell-O, they sometimes have pound cake.
After all you've been talking, everyone in bad, Mama. Everything in the sin.
Come to your closet and pray. Ask to be forgiven.
He's a nice boy, Mom. You like him. You really like him, Mama.
Maybe the last slice of pound cake that we get in 11/22/63, but damn, are there some good ones. Who wants to go first? Justo.
Only because I couldn't partake in a slice in the last episode when the great pound cake was introduced.
Yeah.
This could be why for years we would make fun of the pound cake section of this book, is the following. exchange. And I do mean exchange in many ways.
Ooh.
Semen. No.
There's some whipped cream on that pound cake.
Quote, I took off my clothes and got in bed beside her. Her hand moved beneath the sheets, found me, and caressed me. Are you hungry? Because I have pound cake if you are. Oh, Sadie, I'm starving. And turn out the light.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be the peak of
that
pound
was
cake.
it.
Hashtag peak pound cake.
Do you think that every instance of pound cake involves oral?
Oh, no. I think
they're hungry. They're always eating, you know?
Well, I think that they're starving for each other's bodies.
Okay.
I think
Not
they're
first.
hungry for each other's bodies. So perverted. And they're getting as much of a taste as possible.
Just so uncouth.
Delectable. Delectable.
Well, look, this is what it's for. I mean,
this is the section.
I'm trying to think.
That's such a couple thing. Like every couple has their things, you know, their little like schmoopy kind of jokes, you know.
Yeah, 100,000% right.
Yeah. There's another one in 623.
Oh yeah, I got that one too.
Where is it? Oh yeah. Where is it? Okay. I half expected Deke or Miss Ellie to buttonhole me after the second night's performance, looking grave and telling me they'd had a phone call from Sadie saying that I'd lost my ever-loving mind. But that didn't happen. When I got back to Sadie's, there was a note on the table reading, "Wake me if you want a midnight snack."
In the midnight special, shine a light on me.
Great stuff.
I had that too.
From what I can see, I had two more. Does anyone want to share?
Another one.
You got one? Yeah.
Fleer, you have another one?
I'm out.
Or anything?
I didn't really come across much other than what you guys said. Just the final references to pound cake and midnight snacking.
Fleer and I are concentrating on the romance.
Yeah, come
okay?
on, guys. Let's grow up here.
Oh, how we danced. How we ate. Okay, here we go. Oh, this is unbelievable. This could have also been a misery.
Yeah.
I gotta read it as written.
I know.
I gotta read it as written. Everybody, don't shoot the writer, Jake. All right. Are we talking about a dirty weekend? She blushed, except for around the scar. The flesh there remained white and shiny. Absolutely filthy, senor. The sooner the better, then.
Ooh. I mean, that voice, that is straight from The Raft, too. You know?
My
I was always
God.
calling him Senor.
Senor.
Yeah, they were talking about this in the Discord. I think it's cute. I she's just. It is problematic, but I do think it's like kind of cute in that situation because again,
it's more pound cake than anything else.
Yeah, they're just horny and making.
I'm not
gonna
throw the book on the fucking wood pile and burn it or something like that.
Well, look, a lot of the blood is going out of their brain to other places, so their humor is not going to be like top notch. You know?
Penis and vagina.
Exactly, that's where it's going. Yeah, you got. That's how the semen gets exchanged.
What if like her last dying words were semen?
Oh, the semen we exchange.
Oh, the midnight snacks.
I had one more. It was like him talking about his burning shit, but that's about it. I mean,
oh, that's my favorite. That was almost in my cemetery though, because of how disgusting.
It's just terrifying.
I guess that, and also the tear in the tear duct was gross.
Oh, yeah,
that's tough. Yeah. I do feel bad for her character.
Any other pound cake?
I'm stuffed.
Wow. Well,
and so was Sadie.
Oh, oh my God.
Well, from eating all the semen, right?
Yeah, show some respect.
Okay, Jen, I didn't say that.
I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry, Kyle. You can cut all of
Here
it.
goes that parental advisory slamming it on the label for this episode.
I'll do Robert. Why don't you settle down, Justin?
Be sure to check out our sponsors, Audible.com.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, wait, I don't know. Do you hear that? It's not a doctor. It's not an alarm. Doesn't even sound like the intercom. It sounds like a little twinkling. We just stepped into the King's Dominion.
There's another world out there.
I know there is.
Not a ton. I got one or two, but Justo, if you've got a ton, go for it.
Justin gets out his calculator.
Wow,
this is what I know. Caffrey doesn't like this stuff. I love the 19
I love
stuff.
this stuff too.
This is what made me want to do the podcast, is talk about this stuff. Anyway, I know Caffrey's listening too, so why don't you settle down?
Just settle down.
Just settle down. So the boxing match at Madison Square Garden takes place on August 29th. The 8th month of the year is August, so 8 plus 2 plus 9 equals...
Oh, my God.
19?
Yeah. That's good. That's a good one. Just keep going, because I don't really... I have two things, and one of them's kind of a joke anyway. But
DeMorenschildt's phone number is Chapel 56323. 5 plus 6 plus 3 plus 2 equals...
19?
Jesus.
Really?
I'm sorry, wait. 5 plus 6 plus 3 plus 2 plus 3 equals 19. I messed up the numbers there.
Okay.
All the mathematicians were like shaking their fists.
Will Hunting's listening to this podcast. It's like,
right,
this guy's got it all wrong. It's
fuck
like,
them apples.
Like, give me my chalk. Give me my chalk.
Quote, fuck us.
You hit a cop. You're going down.
Hey, Justin, it's not your fault, okay?
I love that random fucking reference to the judge.
That guy's the most Boston guy in the history of film.
Yeah.
The number of Jake's safe deposit ring is 775. 7 plus 7 plus 5 equals 19.
God, he really does think these through. It's so funny.
But the reason why it doesn't annoy me is because if somebody who's not familiar with King reads the book, it's not going to stick out at all.
No, not at all.
It's only if you're familiar and looking for. Yeah, you two didn't even notice it, so it's fine.
I was just too enraptured in the story to care about these frivolous details.
I was just
I guess
so
I was looking for numbers.
The pound cake,
yeah.
So.
I'm like a meme over here. You alluded to it earlier, Flieger, that Jake doesn't want to watch The New Adventures of Ellery Queen because he doesn't like mysteries. Well, King's short story, The Wedding Gig, first appeared in Ellery Queen's mystery magazine.
Oh, that's a good one. That is a good one. Yeah.
Jake goes to Mr. Lee's barbecue to kill some time. I wonder if there was some harmony going on there. To kill some time. And goes to Mr. Lee.
Mr. Lee.
Harvey Oswald. It was nearly full dark.
Yep, I saw that.
The moon was rising in the sky. And of course, Sadie says, "Don't try out for the Sullivan Show just yet, sweetheart. Alan King, you're not." The great Alan King played Donati in the Quitters Inc. segment from Cat's Eye.
Oh man, that is a great fucking pull. Holy shit.
Yeah. Also, Steven's last name is King.
Holy.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Now we're entering it. Now
wait.
Uncanny.
Let me write this down.
His sons.
Oh.
Joe Hill, his real name, his last name is King.
Joe Hill King?
Wait a minute. And you know what? Joe Hill had a part in the ending of this book, which is kind of nuts.
And Cat's Eye. Wait, no, he's not in Cat's Eye.
He's in Creepshow, which is directed by George Romero, who Jake references as thinking that the time or the green card man is going to, or yellow card man, whatever you want to call it, is going to come up out of the ground.
That's
right. Like a zombie.
This thing goes all the way to the top.
I don't know if you saw this, but there's some Clint's Dominion. At one point, they're watching Rawhide, which star Eastwood, which has a connection in the sense because King always referenced Roland as looking like Clint Eastwood from the Dollars trilogy. So hey,
and that was the part when he leans over and goes, "Have you seen Space Cowboys?" Before remembering that was 36 years later.
Yeah.
Almost ruined
he's
everything.
Still going to be alive 10 years after the publishing of this book. Any others? Jen?
Yeah, I got some. Well, I have a Jen's Dominion too, because we talk about John Connolly, and I don't know, I can't remember who I've told or what episodes I've said, but I was married to John Connolly's nephew a while ago.
Interesting.
So, yeah,
that is quite a connection there. Huh.
I know. Yeah, so I was Jennifer Connolly for a while, but spelled with an A, because lots of career opportunities that came with that. Okay, I have some more. So on page 599, he mentions Secret Storm, which is what Bonnie Sawyer is watching in Salem's Lot when he says you're never going to find out how Secret Storm ends.
Oh,
damn!
Like Bleak House. And then on page 623, this is a little bit pound cakey, but says, "Will you be careful?" "Yes, I'll be very." "She stopped my mouth with a kiss," which is what Stu does in The Stand.
Oh.
On page 627, Jake picks up a red baby's rattle, which is like Alice picking up the red baby shoe in
in Cell.
Cell,
which
yeah.
I was thinking the rattle reminded me of something. I kept thinking of but isn't it like a Gage's shoe?
It's kind of like Gage's shoe. Yeah.
Insomnia, I think.
And then we have page 659, a good dog that goes rabid, which is Cujo.
Oh, Cujo.
Rattlesnakes.
On page 743, one of the some of the books in the book depository are Roads to Everywhere, which in Dolan's Cadillac, that's the book that he is teaching.
Wow,
to his
that
class.
is a fucking.
You're putting me to shame.
You're
kicking dirt in my Alan King comp.
Yeah.
We also have his kneecap when his knee swells up.
Mm-hmm.
That happens to Lewis Creed in Pet Sematary. The word association, where he's trying to like use names and stuff, that's how Edgar Fremantle remembers stuff in Do McKee.
Oh, wow.
God, these
And
are
then
great.
there's John D. McDonough, who those are books that M gets in The Gingerbread Girl.
Wow, Jesus.
There's some Gerber's
That is
dominion I
true.
forgot to mention, though.
Oh, what
It's,
is the Gerber's?
My middle name is Alan, and Alan King, of course, is referenced in this story. I'm surprised all of you didn't remember that, but it's okay.
We need like
different spelling,
branded-
of course, but still, I mean,
Yeah.
sounds the same.
We need to get Gerberlytics calculator covers.
Yeah.
Losers Club.
It'd be cool.
Everything you add up adds to 19.
We'll just have a shirt that has his top 10 directors, and it'll just say Gerberlytics on it.
It's like the gross Excel spreadsheet on it.
Yeah. It's like a screenshot, and it's like if you do the wash once, it like destroys it, so it just looks like this weird fucking crumpled image.
Yellow
like,
and black lines.
Yeah.
John Landis
Like
at number 1. Can I just do a couple?
Max
Like,
Landis
these are
in
not
3.
very good ones. But they talk about Sadie wearing a jaunty black beret.
Oh,
or beret.
this is what I'm talking about.
And
Now we're cooking.
later, there's a poor boy cap that is tilted at a jaunty angle. So we have two jaunts within a few pages of each other.
Oh, hey, wait a minute. What short story collection is that in?
Skeleton Crew?
That's right.
Oh.
And of course, Wedding Gig is also
that's
in
right.
Skeleton Crew.
And
My final one is just Sadie says, "Oh, law." Like Law's Yes from Tom Collins.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh.
Just a turn of phrase
laws.
that's used in, I'm guessing, the South.
Mm-hmm.
I've never, yeah, I guess so. People probably say it, but it's also Tom Cullen.
I had a king site. So, Jake is basically king as he's writing. And you really get the sense that he loves Sunliners. So I'm wondering if that's like King's preferred old school car. So now that we know that, we definitely need to get him that when we finish the podcast. And I think Rachel can find a really good refurbished Sunliner for him.
We just
so
pull all
wait,
the
wait.
Patreon
We're
money.
gonna buy
Buy
a
him a car.
Sunliner.
Oh, I'm gonna get a Sunliner, and then we'll get all the tapes. We'll take all the audio and put them on tapes, and then fill the trunk with the tapes, and then give him the Sunliner.
I think
Oh,
we should
how
fill
we
the trunk with
drove.
pound cake.
Oh, yeah. Any others? We're good?
I'm out.
All right. Well, it's time for our final thoughts next week because we've got one more episode. One more. We have reached part 6, The Green Card Man. It's going to be our series finale of our run here, covering 11/22/63. I think this is the episode you've all been waiting for, the one in which we're all going to become crying men and women together. So be sure to get those boxes of Kleenex in bulk, which you can get at, I'm not going to give you any freebies here. Sorry, Sam's Club. Sorry, Costco.
Buy our Losers Club branded Kleenexes.
Yeah, maybe we should get into that. We should, everyone's crying in these books, so why not? In the meantime,
Jesus.
be sure to follow us on
Bunch of
socials.
babies.
We're just babies, But fortunately, as they say, babies know how to use tablets. So I think anyone right now could get on any of those tablets and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can join our Patreon for even more content beyond 11/22. We did a fun Spirited Kingmas episode and did an equally fun Lobstrosities episode on the Mangler. And we also have a Jen's King Character Corner coming up on
That's right.
Sadie Dunhill. So
Sadie Dunhill.
even more 11/22 content. And because we've been doing so well, I mean, let's be real. These episodes, they've been pretty fun. They've been pretty good. They've been pretty insightful. Why don't you give us some bright red Pennywise clown noses? And you could do that by leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts, or if you want to use the Q&A function on Spotify. It's pretty cool. We've gotten some really good comments, many of which we are able to publish onto the feed. So it's fun. You can get out there.
Cool.
Once again, thank you to Charlie Lawrence of the Most for our most excellent theme song, the Friends song, and our trusty editor, Kyle Rozovich. Thank you, Kyle. You've kept us along the beam. Speaking of which, we'll be seeing you back on the beam in a mere 2 minutes, or for us time travelers over long days.
And pleasant.
Nice. I got some hot friends. God, I got some hot friends. I got some hot friends. God, I got some hot friends. But you know you want somebody to treat you good.
This is the end of our show. For now. Tune in next week. If you like our programming, consider searching for other bloody disgusting podcasts, such as Creepy, Horror Queers, The Boo Crew, SCP Archives, Nightlight, Margaret's Garden, and more.